So, and the other one was the football department shake-up, where he was sort of reluctant to be pressed too much on that. And I think that's where I think probably people in footy feel like it's heading, that usually it's the senior coach go or it's the people in and around him, and they change the football department to bring in some new ideas. I get the feeling that that we could be seeing change in the football department in and around Michael Voss, even if Voss stays, regardless of what happens in the next 11 weeks.
It does get hot in the kitchen. It's part of our uniqueness in the passion of our supporters. He spoke to the leaders around the reports of the infighting, and we need to live in the here and the now. Yep. We need to improve. We don't want to be impulsive or reactionary. Which is easy to say. It's harder to action, especially if, for example, they were to lose tonight and maybe they're to lose more games on the back end of the season. That's where they will. We've seen this story before. This has sort of been the way in the past that Carlton handles issues like this, where they can't find a united front, that the easiest option is to sack the coach.
Yeah. I think nothing changes if nothing changes. So something's got to give there, Clinchy, doesn't it? And that's where, you know, and I'm not saying that, and some supporters will be like, oh, well, it's all falls on the head coach, which is usually the case. You know, enough noise starts to come and then the poor old head coach falls on his sword and away he goes. But I think it might be the guys underneath him just to change it up. Maybe that's what they need. Maybe some new fresh voices can come in, challenge that. So, without being involved in the inside,
it's all guesswork.
It's all guesswork really. For us, 100%. So I've really got no idea. I'm just seeing their results and their performances on a weekend and saying what I see. You know, I've got no idea what goes on Monday to Friday. No idea.
It's the interesting one too around the factions inside the playing group, which was reported at the start of the week. I imagine that's the sort of thing that can really split teams. And Brian Cook, I thought, gave a honest answer to that, where he said, look, if that gets reported, what am I meant to do as a CEO? I can't just say, oh, that's not happening and move on. So I made some investigations. I went and asked all the people that I needed to ask. I felt like people were honest with me, and the response that I got was, no, that's not the case.
Yeah.
So I guess from a CEO's point of view, that would be encouraging as a Carlton fan, because the last thing you would want the CEO to do is to say, oh, no, I'm sure that's no good, it's rubbish, without actually going to do the work. But I don't know, he feels like, look, all I can do is go and ask the question, and that I'm confident in the responses that I got back that we are united.
Yeah, I was happy enough with that response. I thought it was good to hear that he acknowledged that there was talk about it. He'd asked his senior players about those comments, and he was categorical in the way in which he said, oh, there's no issue from our point of view from the players. So I think that's all you can take it on. I think if there was an issue, I think he would have just said, oh, no, I think that's just an external commentary, and there's no point trying to justify those comments. So at least he answered the question in the right way. And I was only there a couple of years ago. I've still got great connections at the football club, and I know that they're in behind Michael Voss. So other people from other networks might make certain comments who have no idea, but anyway, that's all part of it, isn't it?
On the SMS, 0437 774 774. Your thoughts are always welcome. Carlton's biggest personnel problem has nothing to do with the players or the coaches. It has everything to do with the rich people who have never kicked a ball, thinking they can tell the club how to play. There are times where I feel like they could do another spin-off season of Succession, and it would be somewhere behind the scenes at Carlton with all the power brokers and how they decide what takes place. So I guess we get a chance to see it tonight. But I feel like you put in Brian Cook, a man who's had success with Geelong for a long period of time. You put in Michael Voss, who didn't have a successful coaching period at the Brisbane Lions, but he has been around Port Adelaide under Ken Hinkley. You've got to give them a chance to show that they can turn it around, and that might not be as instant as what they hoped, but you've got to see the course. Otherwise, you're just constantly jumping at shadows.
Yeah, I agree. I did a sportsman's lunch, I reckon it would have been 6 years ago, and Brian Cook was one of the people up on stage talking about football and his time at Geelong, and he's probably the most impressive person I've heard talk about football and culture around a football club. So I think they're certainly in great hands, and I think you talked about Corby, whether or not he's going to be there beyond next year. I feel like he's there to try and almost groom the next CEO to try and step up to fill that spot after him, because I think he was keen to get out of football altogether, but saw this as another challenge, and they're certainly in a challenge at the moment. So I think they're certainly in great hands with him as CEO.
The part I find hilarious is that they are heated rivals, but there's so much similarities about the two clubs, isn't there? And the way they're existing in the modern competition. You've got the Bombers, who haven't won a final in 19 years, and Carlton haven't played in one in 10. Like it's a long time for two of the most successful teams, and there's the Premiership Cups at the moment out on the playing arena alongside the centre circles, and so much sort of bravado, and both teams sort of hold their chest out as these powerful forces of the competition. They deserve no more respect than any other team that hasn't won a flag in the last 20 years. So no more than the Gold Coast or Fremantle or whoever it may be. I mean, the competition has moved so far on from any of those premierships that's out on the ground at the moment. And we hear about coterie groups, and whenever there's a storm, it feels like it's bigger than any other team in the league, passionate fan bases, and yet they can't get the bit on the field right for a decade now. And I say this as an Essendon fan, but do you see any similarities between the two clubs? I know they love to hate one another, but there's a lot of crossover.
Yeah, well, you're spot on. I mean, in the AFL era, they haven't been the powerhouses, have they? And I know they've got huge fan bases and great supporter base, but in terms of being successful during this AFL period, they haven't been up there, have they? So, and you look to the powerhouses of the time that we've been involved with at Lids, it's been Geelong, Hawthorn, Richmond really been the...
West Coast.
And West Coast as well have certainly
Sydney
been up there.
Pretty strong.
Sydney have been really strong in terms of just getting to finals. Not all about winning the cup, but everyone talks about it, winning the Premiership Cup as being successful. But Sydney very rarely miss finals. Geelong have always been thereabouts. Hawthorn have been so good for so long, and Geelong have always been there as well. Richmond winning the 3 flags. So you talk about the real powerhouses of the AFL era, and unfortunately for Carlton and Essendon, they haven't been part of it.
So 32 Premiership Cups out in the middle of the MCG. 16 from Carlton, 16 from Essendon as the backdrop to this King's Birthday Eve clash between the Blues and the Bombers. A chance just to talk about what's been the other big talking point of the weekend, which has been the tackle and the fact that we've seen another 2 players who are heading straight to the tribunal on Tuesday night. So James Sicily has been offered, as it stands at the moment, straight to the tribunal on Tuesday night for his tackle on Hugh McCluggage, in which McCluggage was taken from the field with concussion, and Ryan Mansell was the other one for his bump on Saturday night. So if you do the numbers, that's 20 players now potentially suspended if you throw Sicily into that camp, with 2 players having managed to overturn the tribunal. So Brett Delidio, Mark Murphy, how do you feel about the way in which the game has changed and the pressure that's under the current day player with the way in which they have to try and execute these tackles?
Well, the tackle's dead, if you ask me. I think we're going so much towards Gaelic footy that it's not even funny. If Dan Butler doesn't get off his tackle, then you just can't tackle anymore.
I think he definitely gets off. I think that's just an error in just reading the rules by black and white. So there's grey area in football. Like it's a hard game to umpire and to report players and give them weeks. So I think it's fallen on the cases of severity and all that sort of stuff. So I think once it goes to the tribunal on Tuesday, I think he gets off, because the momentum of Blakey, just that impacts the way in which he falls from the tackle, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So I think, and we mentioned it today, Corbin on ABC from 12 to 1, was just about the double action. Right, so I don't think that's a double action, that tackle.
It's a chase down tackle. That's what a small forward gets paid to do. Otherwise, don't pay him. Don't have him in the side. Because that's what Dan Butler gets graded on every single week. How much pressure he puts on, and his ability to try and keep that ball in his front half.
And I think we had Chad Wingard on it on the station today, and he was just talking about it's so much uncertainty for players these days about what you can and can't do, and it's almost like, well, we're just going to tackle, and if we fall foul of it, we fall foul of it. So, and you don't want players to be going out there not playing in that uncertainty, don't you? And not going as hard, because you stop a tackle and then they get a handball off, and then your coach loses his mind at you for not tackling the right way. We don't want to see players tackle and drive players. I think we understand that.
Yeah.
There's going to be incidents which occur because of the physical game, and as a result, there'll be concussion from time to time, and that's unfortunate. We don't like to see it, but that's part of the football.
So I think that's the case with Sicily. He's tried to finish that tackle to make sure that McCluggage cannot get rid of the ball. Otherwise, it's an ineffective tackle, and they go away with it.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate the way Hugh has fallen and landed on his head, and then there's a little push at the end of it, which I think is an exclamation mark almost from sending him to the tribunal. But God, you've got to be able to finish. I think almost a bit to blame ourselves in terms of trying to get the ball moving all the time. It's like, yeah, well, you've got it and you've got a hand free. Try and get rid of it. You lose all strength and stability. You cannot hold up.
I think as a game, they're finding what is acceptable at the moment, what's not. It's almost like there's two boxers going at it, and they're throwing a few punches, and we're understanding where it falls into. I think at the moment we're still trying to understand what actually is going to result in a suspension and what shouldn't. And I think the levels of grading and how we go about it almost doesn't apply to tackles. I feel like it's too hard to have it such black and white. So it needs to be just graded on the incident and that alone.
I think, though, the players are also milking it a little bit. I feel like they're going weak at the knees because they know that they can exaggerate it and
get a free kick.
And get a free kick. Or just like the NBA, oh, it's a foul, and they yell out and scream and carry on. Players are doing that. You can see it. You can see it just by watching it. You understand that's what goes on out there. And players are stronger than that. They can stand up in those tackles.
Because it's similar to what some players, it's always irked me over the years about players when they get tackled and they fall forward and they fall in the back. So players now feel are realising that they're going to be tackled and they're going to get called on the ball, so they go limp and then almost try and fall down like it's going to be a
make their head look at. Yeah, exactly right.
As a really good exponent of the Selwood Shrug, would you have done that, Murph, in your playing days?
No, for a shot on goal, you would have 100%.
If it was within 30, probably would have. No, look, but I think it's almost different, the shrug, because it's not like you're not going to get concussed, I don't feel, from doing that. It's the ones where, if you're going to put yourself in danger, I feel players are getting an understanding now of what concussion is and the results of it. I don't feel players should be doing it, but I think they're trying to milk the free kick at the moment.
The Cal Ward on Lachie Neale one was a perfect example. As if he can't stand up in that, not do something.
I should have asked Lachie about that because I'm good mates with Lachie, but I sort of let it go.
Yeah, just look out for the names when you jump up, Murph, that are falling on the ground there.
Yeah.
Gee whiz.
The other...
I thought you might say that when I was halfway through saying it. I'll go off.
He's on strike. But seriously, Chad Wingard today, obviously, which his comments last Sunday were fascinating too, where he said, look, what we got at the start of the year when it comes to the dangerous tackle was 3 examples. And to think now there's been 20 cases at the tribunal, 2 successful, 18 unsuccessful. There's going to be, by the way, probably a couple more, 3 more at the tribunal. 3 examples, and we've had 23 challenges already, which show that there's a lot more than 3 different ways in which you can tackle in the game, and we're seeing that over and over again, and that's clearly insufficient instruction for our players. Yeah. That if that's the only guidance they got leading into this year was 3 different examples on this tackle's okay, that tackle's not.
Well, there's probably, 40-odd ways of getting tackled, right?
Easy.
So, it's 360 degrees. It's not like playing NRL where you can't lead with the shoulder and you got to tackle from front on the whole time. So it's very different. So, I think 3 examples is almost light.
I would have said, Nathan Broad, don't do what you did against, who was that from the Crows?
Paddy Parnell.
Paddy Parnell. Yep. Don't do that. That is dangerous, obvious. And that's an obvious one. But these little ones where it's like you've got an arm and you're just trying to get him off his balance so he can't get rid of the footy. Come on.
You're taught to tackle to almost pin an arm, so there's one hand free
so he has
with
to
the
throw
ball, so it's got to be a throw. So you're taught that, from a young age, really.
Yes.
And it sort of feels like that over time has become, well, if you don't kick or hand pass the ball, you can get away with not having prior intent or prior opportunity to get rid of the footy, therefore it is play on, whereas it feels like if that was penalised, sort of what they're trying to create, which is that you don't pin the arms, therefore there is... no grey area if you don't get a kick or a hand pass, then all of a sudden it makes it a little bit clearer for the umpires. But it just feels like it's never been harder to adjudicate, and it's never been harder for players to know how they're meant to tackle in the current landscape.
It's a roll of the dice, and that's what Chad is alluding to. What you said, well, we're going to tackle, and if we fall foul of it, the Will Day one in the middle of the ground, Brad Close in the middle of the ground, you're just like...
Do you feel a lot of the discussion would go away if they just waited till the Monday or Tuesday and then they brought up the incidents rather than having to give suspensions a day after? Because surely if you look over these incidents over 48 hours, you'd identify that Butlers is not a suspension, surely.
But if they didn't give the grading the day after, we would all be sitting around saying, why do we have to wait for Monday? Why couldn't we just clear him today?
You can't win.
Yeah.
I think you can't judge it on the outcome, though, and what they're trying to do is, in both of these cases with James Sicily and with Ryan Mansell, they're deemed careless conduct, severe impact and high contact. So as it stands at the moment, if you tackle and the player you're tackling's head hits the turf, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous.
Which also isn't what the AFL said. So they're making us realise that now by the way they're grading players at the tribunal. But if that's the case, and we live in a world nowadays where if you tackle, you're culpable for any damage that's caused, that's fine. But someone come out and tell us. And the AFL are the hardest people to get in touch with and get anyone on to speak about anything. They haven't got a head of footy. They never replaced Brad Scott. They keep pretending it's Andrew Dillon. He's the CEO incoming. He's clearly doing a different role, getting ready for that. You owe it surely if you're on a football competition to say, hey, we need someone to come out and speak about football matters.
Not a priority then, is it, obviously?
We're 13 weeks into the season and we're sitting here trying to work out what's reportable, what isn't, for a key part of the game, which is tackling. And now we're trying to say, oh, actually, you know, if you tackle at all and the player gets hurt, it's your fault. Well, if that's the rule, someone let us know.
Yeah. Not 3 examples at the start of the year.
No, it's a bit
Mickey
embarrassing.
Mouse, isn't it?
Yeah.
Brett Delidio, Mark Murphy, Matt Clinch and Corbin Middlemass with you for the Bombers and the Blues from the MCG. We just had the light show with the big floodlights dimmed here at the MCG, and all 32 Premiership Cups, 16 from the Bombers, 16 from the Blues, are all on display in the middle of the MCG. I'm not sure it had quite the visual effect that they're looking for, but certainly a nice initiative to try something a little bit different. There has been a late change with Andrew Phillips coming into Essendon's 22 for Massimo D'Ambrosio. He's the sub tonight for the Bombers, and Paddy Dow for the Blues. The players aren't too far away from making their way onto the MCG, so let's check inside the Bombers camp. Ian Cohen is also a part of our team. He's one of their senior assistant coaches, Blake Carosella.
Thanks very much, Matt, down here. And it's a beautiful night. It's very still. There's plenty of crowd coming in right now. Blake is with me. And Blake, congratulations, obviously, on the way the Bombers season is going. And no matter which way you look at it, people would consider this to be a marquee lineup, regardless of where the teams are.
No doubt. Essendon, Carlton, MCG. And it is a beautiful day. It's a bit dewy, the grass, actually. And always the members' side wing's always a bit softer as well. So... but looking forward to the game. Carlton maybe bit of pressure on them, but we need to win as well. So looking forward to the spectacle.
You know what that pressure feels like. The Bombers have had a bit over recent years as well. The Blues obviously have got their woes, but there is sting in the tail still. You have to watch out.
Oh, they're a good team. The results haven't gone their way, but we've had a look at them over the last week, and their defence has been really good. Like, they're keeping teams to low scores. Their contest work's good as well, and they've spoken about their need to score more and play a bit faster. So we're on edge about that. We know that's going to come. If we defend it well, we might get some turnovers and score. But if we don't, they got weapons forward as well, and they've got weapons all over the ground. So we know we've got to play well tonight.
What about one of your weapons coming back? Talk to us about Peter Wright, the journey for your Crichton medalist, and how that's been managed right back from weeks and months ago now, and to see him here tonight.
Yeah, okay, so he did his shoulder the last training session before round one, and the Hearts, like best and fairest players, they're key forward. We're quite young in the tall ranks as well, and you have to make a decision then. Do you try and fix it up in 4 or 5 weeks and come back, or have the operation and miss half a season? So it's come around pretty quick. He's back, and he just adds a focal point forward. He's such an exciting player, and we've actually managed to score okay without him. So it'll be interesting to see how he fits into the forward line. Hopefully the ball can get some flow on it and get down there, and I'm sure the crowd will enjoy him kicking his first goal.
What about his pathway back, though? Hasn't been traditional where he's had time in the VFL. You've opted to bring him straight in.
Yeah, he's been training, and the fitness guys think he's right to go, and he's done all these, he's ticked all the boxes there, so we know he's a good player. He might be a bit rusty early on, but all we want from him is a contest initially, and if you can bring it to ground, great. If you can mark it, even better.
Joe Caldwell, Zach Merritt, they've been getting 28s, 30s. What are you expecting out of them tonight, and what sort of plan have you got for them tonight?
Well, it's a midfield versus midfield. Like, they've got good players in there as well, and so do we. So we know they've had a big focus about their contested ball in the pre-season. It shows in their game. They get a lot of numbers over to where the ball's going, like good teams do, and we need to be up for the contest there, and no doubt we will be.
Is there anything differently that you're doing structure-wise? How's that settling in? New coach, new lineups, new players. How's that settling in?
Do you want the whole game plan?
Yeah, that'd be great if you can.
No, a lot of the teams are playing a similar way. Like, everyone copies from the best, and you look at Collingwood, and they're the favourites of the flag, and they're pretty much identical to what Richmond were 6 years ago. And the coaches there, and everyone takes a little bit from each club. And no, we're evolving all the time, week to week, and it's mid-season now, and I know from experience, come finals time, it's going to be a completely different look, and maybe who's favourite, who's not. Maybe Collingwood still are, but we need to keep getting better. We need our players to develop, and we need players playing well and connecting together. So
What can our ABC listeners keep an eye out for tonight, though? What's going to be different against the Blues?
I'm not sure about different. I can't wait. I've been talking to a few friends during the week. I want to play tonight. I don't kind of get that feeling, but I don't know, maybe the history of Essendon Carlton back in the day, but it's going to be a great spectacle. I expect a really big crowd, and it's going to be a contest. No doubt the way Carlton play, the way their weeks kind of unfolded through the media, it's going to be hot early, and hopefully we can match that or beat them in the contest and take the ball forward and score ourselves. But it's going to be a real challenge, and we are well aware that they're a good team, and the results haven't gone their way. We need to play really well to win.
Just a word on Jaden Laverde as well, 100 games.
Yeah, really a fantastic achievement to be drafted. He played a bit of backline as a junior. I didn't even know that when I got to the footy club, and he's playing forward and doing okay. But since he's gone back, he's done a remarkable job playing behind the ball, and he's undersized most weeks. And there was a time last year, every week he'd cop a big hit, and he'd be finishing the game so sore, and he'd get up week after week to play, and had a fantastic last 2 years playing down back. And it's a credit to him and the way he goes about his football and his team first, and it's a fantastic achievement.
Thanks very much, Blake. Good luck tonight.
Thanks, Ian. Cheers.
And boys, he does look fit enough to get out there as well. He's a fine specimen, he's Blake, and maybe he could pull on a jumper and go against the Blues tonight.
Thanks, Koza. Let's hope the Bombers don't need Blake Caracella tonight as they make their way out onto the MCG. The fireworks on display as both Essendon and Carlton come out for what's going to be a bumper round 13 clash on this King's birthday eve. Peter Wright is out there. Jaden Laverde celebrating his 100th game. And the Blues looking to try and break a 5-game losing streak and trying to record their 5th win of the season. Matt Clinch and Corbin Middlemass calling all the action. Mark Murphy and Brett Delidio are your experts, with Ian Cohen down on the boundary. The cricket also taking place on the ABC Listen app, so if you want to keep across that, stumps on day 4. And the Aussies posting 8 declared for 270. India in response, 3 for 164, so needing 280 runs for victory. India with Virat Kohli on 44. Ajinkya Rahane is on 20. So it's all set perfectly in the World Test Championship final. And now it's about Pat Cummins' bowlers doing the job that these batters have set the platform for. So taking a bit of that, Lids, while you're down the coast?
I was, but I'm just hoping that it's still got a fair bit to play out when I get home from this game tonight, so I can sit there and enjoy a little bit. The girls are still down the coast, so I've got a bit of time to myself, Murph, which you don't often get as a father of 3 young kids.
I'm hoping the same in terms of after lunch, that there's some good cricket to watch.
Yeah.
So let's hope for our sakes. I just get excited about the Ashes in a month's time starting. It's an exciting time to be a cricket fan where you can watch football on the weekend and then have the Ashes at night. It's perfect for your wives hating you.
Spare room specialist, that is.
Yeah, trying to stay awake in the early hours of the morning when the French Open's taking place as well. Not to mention the Ashes around the corner. So for as long as Virat Kohli's there, India will feel like they're still well and truly a chance alongside Rahane as well. Chance to focus in on the sides warming up in front of us and what might take place tonight. The Bombers and the Blues. Mark Murphy, Brett Delidio, where do you see this game being decided tonight?
Well, I hope it's a shootout like quite a few years ago, Murph, where I reckon Fev kicked 7 or 8. Andy Lovett went absolutely bananas as well, and we got 22 to 23.
That's a few years ago.
That was a long time ago, but I remember watching that on the couch just thinking, this is great footy to watch.
Yeah.
Just seeing lots of goals, and that's what the fans like a lot of the time. I don't want to see a Dow one like the D's in game last week, where I just felt like it was not a lot to get excited about, whereas...
well, Carlton are due, aren't they, to kick a score? They haven't been kicking scores for quite a while, so I agree with you. I love seeing open football and...
skills on showcase,
physical contest, but then you want to see scores, and we've got some blokes, especially for Carlton, who can kick a bag, and we know how well Essendon have been going. I've been really enjoying their midfield, led by Zach Merritt this year. We made mention of him earlier on. He's been a star already in his career, but his game's certainly gone to a new level and new heights this year, and certainly leading from the front. His defensive game's really amped up, but everyone talks about that, but he gets forward now and delivers inside 50, which is what you want to see your best ball users doing, and he's certainly doing that really well.
His first quarter last week is as good a first quarter as you'll see from someone who's not the size of Paddy Cripps or Nat Fyfe or Danger. It was just pure ability to get on the end, but then to deliver as well, but then to get forward. Yeah, he was up against a young North Melbourne midfield that were a little bit shell-shocked at the start of the game, and he still managed to get it over 30 times and have some real influence. That's what I want to see from your boy Paddy Cripps. It's like, righto, boys, times if we're going to get going here, it's on my back, and I'm going to lead this charge, because I reckon he's been a little bit down. Teams are putting a lot more pressure, and
teams are putting a huge amount of
more
work into him.
Yeah, well, why wouldn't you? He's a reigning Brownlow medalist, so he's a good player. But how do your teammates help you and get better around you to help you become a better player as well? And I think they've just let the ball drop a little bit in that era. Adam Chera probably he's been okay. I reckon.
Yeah, I think he's been one that's been really good this year.
Yeah, held his own in there.
Yeah.
Sam Walsh gets the footy, but I reckon he's butchered it at times. And then Matty Kennedy's gone to heart.
The old meat cleavers, you reckon?
He's definitely got the Nike
I think
meat cleavers on.
He's had a tough pre-season. I know he had back surgery earlier on this year, so I think he was always going to take a bit of time to get his power back. And I agree, he hasn't probably used the football as well.
He hasn't got his damage though. Like last year, I reckon he was being damaging and breaking the lines because he can run so well, and he was hitting those key forwards where they've just stagnated their ball movement, and then they bomb it to 30 out. How easy is that to read for the defence?
He just needs to sweat on Paddy Cripps and be a second possession player around
100%.
stoppages, and the perfect opportunity to be that player is when you're around Paddy Cripps, because he's going to draw attention. So getting his eyesight and be there to be used and get the ball going forward. I think they're fallen foul of doing similar to what Essendon were doing last year and reverting back from stoppage. I think they've got to try and go forward.
Get out the front.
Yeah.
Put the pressure on the key backs, because they're undersized down there too, the Bombers. They've only got, Zirk Thatcher, who's a good size height-wise, but not overly strong. So Harry Mackay could get a hold of him. Laverty, we know, is undersized, but competes really well. He's probably a good matchup for Charlie Curnow, but then
whoever's on red lead needs to be
accountable. So Jack Silvani's got to...
But needs to be... working up and down the ground, but working in smart areas to be used. And if they're not going to use him, then Ridley will just drop off all day and support Laverty and Zirk Thatcher and support them in terms of getting across and impacting in the air against Harry Mackay and Charlie Curnow. So whoever's on Jordan Ridley needs to be sure that they're in the eyesight of their teammates and being used. So make sure, if you're a midfielder at Carlton tonight, that you're trying to hit up his opponent every opportunity.
I'll tell you what else I want to see from the Carlton defenders, Wiedering and Young in particular. Win it, and watch Darcy Moore how he does. Win it and get the ball moving. You don't have to be electric by feet, because we know Jacob Wiedering's not that. But move the ball on. Get the ball in motion and allow your mids to spread and be that first option versus slow. Look down the line.
Look central early. And if it's not there, don't go for it. But if it's there, have a go at your disposal. Outside of that, use Sard running past.
Just give it to him.
Be aggressive and try and go through the corridor. If it's not, you can always revert wide.
The Bombers are a high possession, high kicking side, so if the Blues can bring their pressure, they are Essendon ranked number 16 for tackling, number 16 for clearances, so it's obviously a strength of Carlton's if they can get it all firing, and the scoring that follows as a result of that. So the players going through their final preparations. The teams are also in for the King's birthday clash between Melbourne and Collingwood tomorrow. Michael Hibbert comes in for the Demons. Jake Bowie is out through concussion and James Harm's suspension. And Pat Lipinski comes in for his first game for the Magpies in season 2023. Jordan De Goey obviously out through suspension. And Olive Markov was the sub last week. He's out as well. So no Sidebottom or Jordan De Goey for Collingwood. No Clayton Oliver for Melbourne.
Can the D's win?
Not in the form I've seen them.
Not last week's form, no.
No, not with that Clayton Oliver. I think that's a huge non-in, isn't it? Because he's missed a couple of weeks and everyone thought he was coming back in, and everyone an infected finger.
Toe.
Oh, toe.
Blister in the foot.
Blister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it started off...
The cleanliness of Clayton Oliver to be discussed, possibly.
That might be a half-time topic. The final member of our team sitting in the front row of the grandstand. He's also involved a big part of the MND, the Big Freeze for the 9th edition, with Neil Danaher raising so much money for this very worthy cause. Here's Ian Cohen. Welcome to you, Koza.
Yes, thanks very much, Matt. You're quite right. The slide was built today and it's been covered over by the Vincent Fantuzzi artwork that you can see down the city end. And the city end is the way the Bombers are going to go. Zach Merritt won the toss and the Bombers will kick towards that City end. Conditions, there's no real breeze to speak of. It is very still. It's a little damp underfoot, but you would suggest with Essendon going so tall, it could be a good opportunity for them. I was watching Big Harry and Charlie warm up. Charlie was kicking everything to the near side. Harry was going right through the middle. So we'll wait and see how that turns out as both players head down towards that punt road end. But you're right, will be a huge one. King's birthday eve, a holiday fixture, great anticipation, and tomorrow for Fight MND, the slide will be underway. We can talk more about that in a moment.
What do you think the crowd is for tonight, Koza?
Oh, well, I think they're looking at 70,000 for tonight. I wonder if it'll get up around there. But these two big teams, we know they've got strong followings, and it's already on in the middle.
It certainly is. And Zach Merritt is getting some close attention before the ball is even bounced. Round 13 of the AFL, King's birthday eve. It's Carlton and Essendon on Grandstand AFL. Here's Corbin Middlemass.
Ed Curnow straight to Zach Merritt. DeConey wins the first hit out, but down to the big Don Draper. Hand pass away to Merritt. He falls over. Stringer grabs the footy. Hand pass to Caldwell for the Bombers. Hands it out to Perkins. Sockers it forward, but straight to Cottrell. And then Perkins tackles him. Still inside the centre square. Baggers home game, all in the navy blue with the white monogram. Essendon, the red sash and the white shorts. From the stoppage, Draper down to Caldwell, kicks top of the goal square. Fumble from Kent, put himself under the pump for the Blues, but he got it out. Weeder into Lewis Young, his kick's a turnover. Stringer takes the intercept mark, left half forward for Essendon. Turns his back on the goals at the City end, and he'll have a look from 50 out, left half forward.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, again, for Carlton, it's a skill error, which is then a result in a set shot for Essendon. They just need to get the ball out of 50 and just get as far as possible you can away from goal rather than trying to pinpoint somewhere and 40 out.
Big crowd, main event footy. A huge 24 hours, the theatre of the great and the grand. Jake Stringer shoots goal when he doesn't have the trip, and in the end it's Louis Young making up for his skill error, whacks it through for a rush behind. First score of the night. Just the one late change. Phillips has started. D'Ambrosio the sub. Paddy Dow the sub for Carlton.
Mitch McGovern brings the Blues back into play. Short to Sard, who slips over. Thinking about giving back to McGovern. He plays on boundary side. Chips it up towards Cottrell. Too slow. Over the top comes Andy McGrath and spoils it out of play. Boundary throwing it right half forward for the Bombers.
How's the mixture of the jeers and also the woof for Adam Sard against his old team?
There'd be anxious fans from both sides. Keen to get involved when they can. De Koning works his way to the front, wins down the tap against Draper, follows up with a hand pass to Wiedering. He sends it up towards half forward. Charlie Curnow can't take the mark. Spills towards the way of Paddy Cripps. Can't quite gather. McGrath's in there. Guelphy's hand pass straight to Charlie Curnow. Sends the Blues inside 50. They were well set, but Laverty dropped the mark. And now he's under pressure. Oh, he's lays the tackle and the umpire will ball it up. Left forward pocket for the Blues, who are in attack for the first time tonight.
Right, I know. That's what he's in the team to do. Put pressure on, keep that ball inside 450.
Umpire waits for DeConey and Draper. DeConey wins it down. Nick Martin for the Bombers got it out to Heppel. Hand pass away to Durham. Centre half back. Sweeps a hand pass out to Ridley. Links up with Martin off the back flank. Kicks for the outer wing and Langford marks. Bombers with the opening score. 2.5 minutes in. Essendon 1. Carlton yet to hit the board. Bumper crowd, clear night at the MCG before the King's birthday holiday. That's not a good kick, and Langford going wide, goes too wide. It's it out of bounds on the full.
No, it's a good sign there for Carlton. Essendon, really good clearance from a back stoppage, but they're able to set up and get their zone in place and force an error.
Louis Young takes the free, heads down to high half forward. Perkins went early. Draper swats it down from the back into the path of Heppel. Hand pass away to Langford. He doesn't kick it this time. Links up with Perkins, wanting to get back onto his right peg. Sends a high ball towards half forward. Wiedemann flies from the back. No mark. Falls down to Stringer. Loops a hand pass inside 50. Guelphy's just got to collect. Can't. Knocks it away. Snap goalward from Merritt. He misses. Gee, Zach Merritt running into an open goal, 20 out, gathered, just the snap on his not-preferred right boot, couldn't execute. Essendon with the first two behind.
Had more time, Zach Merritt, didn't he? Just elected to go on the right foot rather than try and steady up and kick it on his left, but
that happens when you're being tagged, though. Just someone on your back.
Yeah, that's right, just that referred sort of pressure, but just had more time, and Great work rate, though, and that's what he's built his game on, is just that work rate from contest to contest.
The Blues hurts it to half-back. Walsh gave it to McGovern through the middle of the ground. Risky kick. Motlop gathers it off hands. Hand pass to centre half-back to Paddy Cripps, who tried to fend off the tackle from Perkins. It looked high. It'll be penalised as Cripps was trying to break from the tackle. Perkins had enough of the jumper, and the fend-off was right to the face.
Yeah, you can't fend off to the chin.
No.
Aim for the chest, Pat. Not the chin.
I think he knew straight away.
So Archie Perkins is going to take it in the middle of the MCG. He drives the Bombers as far as he can. Wiedemann's there. Stringer doesn't fly. It falls to the front. Sards tackle. Can't get a boot to clear the congestion. A chance for Kemp. His hand pass away to McGovern. Tries to link up with Chera. Hand pass away to Walsh. Sends the Blues out of the defensive 50, but for how long? Ridley races after it. He'll get there first for the Bombers.
Ridley goes short to Heppel, and he takes the mark against the boundary line southern side. Short kick inboard to Nick Martin. Has it for Essendon. He looks inside the forward 50 and finds Sammy Durham. And last time he played on this ground, we know what happened. He kicked the winner in the latter stages on Dreamtime as he goes to the top of the goal square. Draper in a wrestle with Taconi, no mark. Falls down to Guelphy. Guelphy spinning back to his left-hand side. Hand pass goes away to Wiedemann. Links up by hand to Caldwell. Goes back to Perkins and all the way back to Zerk Thatcher. Untidy kick into the top of the goal square. Louis Young, the double fister, straight down to Langford. Whacks it back the other way. Now Sard can just clear the dangerous area. Kicks to centre half back.
Harry Mackay tries to get there to spoil it down. Oh, he taps it on to Harry Mackay. Hand pass to Cripps. He puts it out in front of Motlop on the members' wing. Away he goes with a bounce. He doesn't have anything further afield, so he has to tread water and chips it to Charlie Curnow. Not 15. Hand pass to Harry Mackay at left half forward. They're trying to find an avenue forward. Charlie Curnow with a worm burner inside. It might work into the centre square. Chera to Chincotta. He goes for goal from long range. Bounces it through. Opening goal of the match goes Carlton's way. Alex Chincotta with his first goal in AFL footy, and what a time to deliver it. In front of 70,000 at the MCG. The opening goal of the match comes at the 6-minute mark. Carlton 1 straight 6 to the Bombers 2 behinds.
Well done by the young man. Obviously your first goal in AFL football, and what better stage to do it against the arch rival in Essendon, the MCG. But I thought it was just great composure from Jesse Motlop at the start, who had the ball here on centre wing and had absolutely nothing to go to, so had no other option other than to try and wait for numbers to get forward. So used the ball lateral and end up ending up in Charlie Curnow's hands. He could have just bombed it long and hoped for the best, but used his teammates around him, and Charlie was a bit of a worm burner inside the corridor.
Wasn't pretty.
But it found a way, and good composure and great finish from Alex Chincotta.
First goal for the Blues, 4-point lead for Carlton. Back in the middle, Phillips wins it down straight to Stringer, got it to Perkins, tapped it on to Merritt. Merritt into the path of Redmond. Hand pass away to Stringer. Kicks to centre half forward for Essendon. All leaping at it is Menzies. Can't mark, outnumbered. Falls down to Nick Martin. Hand pass goes to Walsh. Walsh is tackled by Hobbs. Going to be holding the ball.
That's a big tackle.
Ben Hobbs made it stick, locking up Sam Walsh. And the top pick from a couple of years ago to the top of the goal square. And Peter Wright, working his way to the front, hangs onto it, top of the goal square.
Wow, well done, Ben Hobbs. That was a big tackle. Carlton looked like they were away. Sam Walsh trying to take it to the game. But when you've got big key forwards up there, how much of Essendon missed this? The big fella up front. Get it in there. Give him a chance to run and jump. Put Young and Wiedering under the pump. Great clunk.
Hasn't played since Ben Rutten's last game in charge, round 23 last year. His first outing under Brad Scott. How they've missed him. Welcome back, Peter Wright. Pops it through for Essendon's first. And the best and fairest winner from a year ago returns Essendon to the front. 1-8. Carlton 1 straight 6. 8 minutes gone. Brett Delidio, Mark Murphy, Grandstand AFL.
Well, they're going to have to play a little bit undersized down there, Carlton. I know that they've got some tools in Lewis Young playing against Peter Wright, but you can see in the replay Langford just trying to hold down Wiedering, just trying to make sure they're not going to try and intercept and support one another. But if they get Draper out there who can play forward as well, obviously it's going to be quite a task for the Carlton defenders to try and man up those keys. But great tackle from Ben Hobbs, where it looked like Carlton were out after a great intercepting spoil from one of the Carlton defenders. But Ben Hobbs, well done on that tackle. It's your goal.
Mark Murphy with you on ABC Sport. A goal apiece. Bombers lead by 2 points. Back in the middle. Phillips wins down the tap. Got it to Stringer. Hand pass to Perkins. Can't get around Cripps. Got the hand pass clear. Feeds it to Merritt. Back to Hine. Members side of the MCG. Hand pass away to Phillips. He links up with Hobbs. He pulls his kick. Spots Nick Martin. At right half forward, still 2 kicks out from goal. Sends it in the direction of Peter Wright. Gets hands to it, can't hang on to the mark. A chance for Menzies. He can't knock it clear. Now becomes a tackler with a footy stuck underneath him, but he got in the back of his opponent. And the free kick going Sam Walsh's way in the left back pocket.
He swings a hand pass out wide to Blake Acres, who goes long down the wing. It's out on the full. It's not the start he would want, Blake Acres.
So you want to get a bit closer to Nick Martin as well. He's been super damaging on playing on the wing for the Bombers in the last few weeks. Well, this whole year, to be honest.
Laverty in game 100 brings it into Redmond. His kick overcooks it. Akers takes the intercept mark half back. Hand pass to Doherty. Handball goes away to Curnow. That's Ed. Kicks all the way down to half forward. Mackay. A little shove on Ridley. Free kick for the Bombers. And Jordan Ridley's going to take it at half back. A goal each to start. 10 minutes in. The Bombers by 2.
Ridley short to Andy McGrath, who marks in front of the Essendon bench. He plays on around the boundary line. Sends it up towards Phillips and Wiedemann. Whistle before the ball got there. A hold, and it's going the Bombers' way against Jack Silvani. Andrew Phillips to take the free kick. Merritt trying to skate around the back. He receives the hand pass. The Bombers' captain boundary side. And it's a good kick that finds Hobbs. Right on 50, but hard against the boundary. He looks towards the teeth of goal. A centering ball. Peter Wright sets himself. From behind, can't come down with a mark. Kennedy's tackled by Langford. The ball spills Stringer's way. He can't break clear. Silvani kicks it end over end. A chance for Chincotta. Gets the hand pass out to Motlop. Bounced away from him. Langford links up with a hand pass with Nick Martin. Hand pass away back towards the top of the 50. It bounces in front of Nick Martin. He tries to ride the tackle. Hand pass away to Snelling. To Stringer the fend off. He has to get the hand pass inboard to Langford. Cleverly tapped it towards Wiedemann. It's all under enormous pressure. Merritt's locked up by Boyd. And the umpire will ball it up 35 metres out from the Bombers' goal. Some fair tempo.
Yeah, some good heat and pressure, isn't there? You can tell both sides are really switched on. Good football.
Bombers by 2, 12 minutes in. Young doing the ruck work in the defensive 50 down to Kennedy. Ran into Cripps, his own teammate. Got it out eventually to Chincotta. Back to Cripps. They swarm to him. Pack forms and a ball up. 35 out, centre half forward for the Dons.
Looking dangerous, Peter Wright, isn't he? He's had probably 3 opportunities, taken 1 grab already, but looked like he could have taken another 2.
Game being played in Essendon's front half. Young wins the hit out down towards Chera. Hand pass through to Young. He missed his boot with the ball. Ball just trickles away towards Cripps, has to mop it up. Hand pass to Akers, handball to Walsh, and now to Motlop. Kicks into open space. Members wing. Doherty needs it to sit for him. It does. He's tackled by McGrath, coughs it up. Ridley back the other way. A jinking run and spears at the Hobbs outer edge of the centre square.
Has options in the middle of the ground. He works it to Nick Martin. Just short of centre half forward. Sending it long towards Peter Wright. He's got it this time. Young tried to slap it out of his hands. The umpire said he hadn't held it for long enough. Play on's the call. It spills away of Langford around the body. He misses to the left-hand side. A minor score. The Bombers lead by 3 points.
He looks ominous, doesn't he, Big Pete?
Did Peter Wright have it long enough in your eyes?
I think he did, yeah. It was the second. He came of Young to try and get rid of it. Took it in the air and came down with it and then slapped out of his hands once he hits the ground.
Boyd brings it in to Young. He kicks to Owies, who marks half back. 1-3-1 straight. Majority of the game in Essendon's front half through the first 13 minutes. Owies kicks down the outer wing. Mark taken by Harry Mackay. Immediately rolls and goes. Heads to half forward. Charlie Curnow the target. Bombers ball through Laverty, but straight to Motlop. Outside right boot. Vacant goal square. He's off target. Kicked it all the way across the face. Chase on in a forward pocket. Akers will get there first. Thought about snapping goal at once. Goes a second time, and Phillips is back to save the day. Whacks it through for a rush behind. Didn't quite hit it. Essendon 1-3, Carlton 1-1. 13 minutes in on Grandstand AFL.
Ridley brings the Bombers back in. Sends it straight down the middle. Where the mark is taken by Sammy Durham. Looks out towards the left half back. Puts it out in front of Hine, who tries to run away from Harry Mackay. Takes a bounce. Chase me if you can. Kicks it up to Menzies. Good kick. He couldn't quite hang on as he bounced into Kemp and it goes out of play. Throw in on the southern side. Essendon fans thought he had enough of it. Not paid. Bombers leading by 2 points. Inside 50s, 9-3.
You can just tell there's a real focus at the moment, isn't there, from Carlton to try and move the ball on really quick. I know Essendon have had a lot of
getting
ball
too
inside
high,
their
though.
forward half of the ground, but every time Carlton get their chance, they're trying to move the ball on quick.
Silvani works Phillips underneath it, got it down to Cottrell, kicks up towards Charlie Curnow. Oh, he's front and centre, gathers on the wing. He bursts forward, vacant goalmouth. He kicks it as far as he can. Howard a bounce offline to the right and through for a minor score. The Blues giving a good bang for buck for their entries. Just 4 inside 50s for 1-2-8. Essendon 1-3-9 from their 9 inside 50s through 14 minutes.
Getting super high, the Carlton forwards here. Both looks they've had going inside have been with an empty forward 50.
McGrath goes on a stroll from the kick-out, looks for Draper on the wing. Chera knocks it away from him, back inside Carlton's forward 50. Charlie Curnow just has to collect the greasy footy, tackled by Nick Martin, tackled high. Free kick Curnow, centre half forward for the Blues.
Yeah, a bit sloppy, wasn't it? By Nick Martin, just put the arm over the shoulder of Charlie Curnow, but good spoil from Jacob Wiedering on the defensive exit on Sammy Draper and getting the ball back inside 50 with a spoil.
Yeah, and that's not ducking. He's bending down to pick up the footy and gets caught up the shoulder. I don't think the Bombers fans have any right to be aggrieved with that. Loose tackle results in a set shot for Charlie Curnow. Hits the post. So 3 straight behinds for Carlton. Scores level, 15 gone opening term, 1-3-9 apiece.
Hey, what? It's every bit of 75,000 here today, Corb.
Oh, yeah, it's a big crowd, isn't there?
Massive crowd.
Public holiday tomorrow. Plenty of footy fans keen to take in this. What will become a new tradition. The long kick towards half-back from Ridley. Louis Young flew in, brought it down to ground level for the Blues. Hobbs in front position. Hand pass to Heppel to the run of McGrath from centre half-back. Hand pass to Nick Martin, searching hand pass, looking back for Hobbs. He leaves it for Caldwell. He's got options out on the southern stand side. Puts it out in front of Sammy Durham. He gathers, Cottrell corralling him, trying to find an avenue forward. He dribbles it towards half forward. Silvani led Draper to the footy. Gathers for the Blues. Sends a spiralling punt kick up the wing. Ridley's waiting for it. Got an awkward bounce. Charlie Curnow's onto it. He blazes inside 50. It's bouncing, but it's offline. It's out to the right, through for a minor score. The Blues take the lead 1-4-10 to Essendon 1-3-9. Ian Cohen on the boundary.
Carlton are very compressed at the moment, and Ridley, who got 32 last time he was here at the MCG, is wearing Curnow with Laverde playing that goalkeeping role, but it is an open forward 50.
A goal each, 16 and a half minutes in, 3 lead changes already. Blues back out by 1. Zerk Thatcher marks the kick out, goes short to Snelling, back flank. He goes short 2 to Hobbs. Phillips in the 22, Massimo D'Ambrosio, the game winner last Sunday's the sub. And Paddy Dow again the sub for Carlton. Long kick for Hobbs down the wing. Hand on it from Wiedemann, but he was shoved out. And out in front him, Andrew Phillips. So it's an Essendon free, standing in front of Wiedemann. Former Blue himself. Phillips goes long to Draper. Forced to spoil from the back. Sits up for Langford. He's crunched in a tackle. Ball spits out. Comes the Bombers' way. Shot goes goalward. But it misses. It's a hold for the Bombers. It's coming all the way back. And Langford's going to get a look at them. He was tackled as soon as he grabbed it. The umpire said the tackle lingered. Sam Doherty disagrees.
Yeah, it was against Mitch McGovern. Just held on when he didn't actually have possession of the football, and ball bobbled free in the tackle and then just went on with it too far.
I think Sam Doherty trying to argue that, well, they played on. They took it. They tried to take advantage and they missed.
Yeah. Was it a fair free kick?
Yeah, it's probably there. I thought it was there. Didn't actually have the ball.
He never took control and then almost put a saddle on him, Corb.
I'm happy when those ones get paid. Carlton by point. Kyle Langford, the Bombers' leading goal kicker this year in the absence of Peter Wright for large periods. Langford dobs it. Bombers back out in front. Blow for blow in this opening term. In front of a bumper crowd. The King's Birthday Eve rivalry. And it is Essendon who lead it by 5 points. 2-3 over Carlton, 1-4. Langford with his first of the night, 18 minutes in.
What I liked about that movement from the defensive kick in was get your shorts, get it up to half-back, and then be like, all right, there's nothing else on. Take your medicine, get it down the line, outnumber.
They've been sloppy, Carlton, with their sort of discipline around the contest. They've had 6 free kicks now, Essendon to Carlton's 2, and they've all been there, I feel. So there've been quite a few in the contest, and we saw that one early here on the centre wing where just wrapping an arm for no good reason, be stronger in the contest without giving away the free kick. So I think the discipline of Carlton at the moment's been certainly costing them.
Mark Murphy, Brett Delidio, Matt Clinch, Corbin Middlemassey and Cohen with you on ABC Sport. Back in the middle, Draper up against De Koning. De Koning wins down the tap for the Blues. Pinballs the way of Chera. He can't break away from Draper and Merritt. And the umpire will board up in the outer of the centre circles. Bombers by 4 points. Tossed in the air. De Koning tries to tap it down, but it's Hobbs who read it best. Kicked it straight into the head of Sarda. Pinballs around. Chera, was he pushed in the back? He was. And the Blues will get the free kick in the middle of the MCG. He thinks about the hand pass to Boyd. Now decides that's the avenue forward. Sends it out to left half forward. Jack Martin's on a lead. He marks it left half forward on the left. Inside 50. Not a good kick for Kennedy. And Laverty read it best for the Bombers. He marks 35 metres out from his defensive goal, with the Bombers leading by 5 points.
Game 100 tonight for Laverty. At the other end, McGovern playing his 100th. Hyde marks top of the goal square. Goes all the way out to Heppel, the former captain. Half back against the boundary line, southern side, and back to Laverty. On the footy of his career, they really missed him, Essendon, when he was out of the side for a couple of weeks. Going back a month or so. And he goes long down the wing. De Koning flies through, no mark, falls down to Durham. Feeds a hand pass out in front of Snelling. He fumbles, left the footy behind. Chera goes in, wins it for Carlton. Hand pass to Ed Curnow. Hurried kick to brother Charlie. He marks in front of Redmond. 60 out right half forward. He takes a moment, the forward 50 fills up, and Curnow trying to kick it all over the top of Essendon's zone, and he misses out to the right. A long-range bomb, a minor score. Carlton were one straight, by the way. They're now 1-5, so their last 5 scoring shots, all misses. Essendon 2-3, the Bombers by 4 points, 21 goal opening turn.
I feel that Charlie's a beautiful kick. I reckon he can just do more with that than a long point.
There's probably an option to go to Jack Silvani, probably 1v1 and put it out to space, but he did carry the distance, but I think get it into your 1v1s a bit sooner if you can.
Mason Redmond long out of defence, but Wiedering takes the intercepting mark for the Blues. Turns inboard to Sard. He's got Akers free on the members' wing. He marks just short of left half forward. Looks inside 50. Silvani one-on-one with Ridley. Good wrestle. Silvani trying to make body space. Ridley was able to win it at ground level. Hand pass to Redmond. Kicks up to Nick Martin, who takes the mark at right half back. In the last 4 matches, the Blues have kicked more behinds than they have goals. Charlie Curnow with 3 behinds next to his name. There's the kick up towards Langford, who had his arms chopped. Kemp trying to fly in from the side, and in the end made contact in which the umpire spotted. So free kick going the way of the Bombers, just in front of the 2 benches.
Just got to get a better entry then, Carlton. They had the open side, and Blake Acres goes to a 1v1 on the boundary where you have your open side. You should be able to hit a target from there.
Essendon by 4 points, 4 lead changes opening term. Time on in the quarter. Langford goes long down to half forward. Play on it from Guelphy at the back. Hand pass back in dispute. Perkins puts his head over it, extracts a handball, but straight to Louis Young. Hand pass to Doherty. Handball to Chera for the Blues. So off the back flank. Hand pass away to McGovern. Spears a kick to Walsh. Going the short way home. Walsh decides to swing it out wide to Akers, who has appropriately plenty of room. Takes the mark 80 metres south. Closes to 70. Has a bounce. Kicks inside the forward 50. To Koning down there. Cottrell flies. No mark. Falls down in front of Hind for the Bombers. Cripps wrestles it from him. Says play on. Still a live footy. 20 out from the Carlton goal. And in the end, umpire Donlan says I'll have it. A ball up, 25 out from the Carlton goal at the punt road end. The Bombers by 4.
That is Carlton summed up, that bit of ball movement right there. In the corridor, go wide to the wing and then just bomb it long to 30.
Phillips wins down the tap. He's read it beautifully, tries to squeeze it towards full forward. Charlie Curnow's beaten. He's outnumbered as Nick Martin gathers. Sends the Bombers high towards half back. Peter Wright nudged underneath. Young knocked it down. Guelphy tries to spin out of traffic. Doherty laid a good tackle. The hand pass came straight to Stringer though. He dodges and weaves away from Doherty at right half back. Up towards Draper, who's caught behind. Wiedering in front, couldn't take the mark. Draper's over the shoulder. And the free kick will go the way of the Blues. I'm not sure they necessarily heard the whistle. Jacob Wiedering will take it at left half back. Blake Acres, a player they picked up for a future second round draft pick, which ended up being Will Setterfield. So needs to kick the ball inside 50 a bit better than that. Wiedering up towards De Koning. There with Harry Mackay. Neither could take the mark. It spills the way of McGrath of the Bombers. 1-2 with Redmond. And Andy McGrath right half back.
Short kick to Stringer. Nice defensive side of the wing. Bombers by 4, 23 gone opening quarter. Hot start here at the G. Stringer goes long to right, and Louis Young gets across, kills it out of bounds. A throw in, 60 out from the Dons goal.
So nothing wrong with that play. Get it, see your big forward, put it to his advantage, set up, get it out of bounds, start all over again.
Carlton bring out one of their half forwards and playing up around the ball. Sam Docherty's been doing a bit of it, starting off the half forward flank and coming up and playing on ball.
Carlton's last 5 scores all behinds from the boundary throw in. DeConing wins it down, but Merritt clever, knocks it to Snelling. Hand pass away to Perkins. He was dealt with after he got rid of it. Advantage applied. Martin gives it to Merritt. Kicks top of the goal square. Right flies. No mark. Spills down to Wiedemann. Hand pass back into dispute. This is Guelph. He's locked up. The ump says, I'll have it. Guelph and Wright missed most of the season. Both finished top 3 in last year's B&F, of course, with Peter Wright winning the thing.
Wright does the right work against Louis Young, tries to tap it down to Stringer, couldn't take it cleanly. Akers is right there with him. Left it for Chincotta. His hand pass pinballed around towards Caldwell. Eventually Sard, a chance to clear. Kicked it straight to Heppel though, couldn't hang on to the mark. As always was there late, but he chopped the arms in the eyes of the umpire. And Dyson Heppel looks inside 50 for the Bombers. Sends it in the direction of Wiedemann. He had to try and spoil against Mitch McGovern. Then tries to extract the footy, looking for Caldwell. Sard races after it in the back pocket for the Blues. He's now set upon. Caldwell over the top. They turn to the umpire. He'll ball it up in the right forward pocket for the Bombers under the Ponsford stand. Essendon leading by 4 points.
Up it goes. Young wins the hit out. Caldwell against the boundary. Hand pass away to Stringer. Floats a kick goalward, but misses near side. They're taking something special from out there, off balance under pressure.
That would have been the end of Carlton. If that had gone through, that's it. I'd just walk off. That'll do me.
2-4 to 1-5. Essendon by 5 points. 26 gone opening term.
So the problem with Carlton, if they're going to bring a half forward up, they need to be really smart with their use around the football. So at the moment, they're sort of getting really high up the ground and banging it in long and not giving their forwards, or not giving an opportunity for their forwards to get hard enough forward and be an option.
Mitch McGovern kicks in long towards DeConing and Mackay. It's balled out of play by Sam Draper. So is that a pressure element? Are they trying to open up the forward line and make it a foot race back?
Well, I think they're just trying to win, obviously, the number battle around the contest and then backing in their hands to try and get the ball forward and then rush forward. But at the moment, they're just banging it in and they're getting it on the turnover.
From the throw-in, DeConing one down the tap, but a whistle. It's going the Bombers' way, and Zach Merritt will take the free kick. Shimmy was held off the ball. He wheels onto his left, kicks inside 50, lays out for Peter Wright. Can't take the mark. Good spoil in the end from the Blues. Walsh with a hand pass to Docherty under enormous pressure. Squeeze the kick into the middle of the ground. Redmond hit it with pace for the Bombers. Hand pass to Nick Martin. Kicks out wide towards Snelling. Can't take the mark. Sard knocks it away. Socks it towards the boundary. The foot race between Snelling and Sard. Taps it to Cottrell. Back to Sard. They found a way out where there wasn't one. Hand pass away to Motlop. He chips it up to Harry Mackay, who marks centre wing on the southern side.
Time running out in this opening term. Mackay goes across the ground. And Chincotta marks. Wasn't on a list on February 15. Late call-up. 6th game tonight. Kicked the first goal of the match. Doubles up as the first of his career. He goes long to half forward. Laverty flies alone but drops it through his hands and slides out of bounds. A throw in half forward for Carlton. Paddy Dow and Massimo D'Ambrosio, the 2 subs. So Phillips was listed as an emergency, but he starts. And Massimo drops back to the second row on the bench. Bombers by 5. DeConing from the boundary throw-in, palms it down to Docherty. Hurried kick inside 50. They all scrap for it. Slips past a number. Ridley got it. He's tackled by He's out of play. A boundary throw-in right forward pocket, punt right in, and there's a bit of spice in it as well. Sam Walsh comes in to give Ben Hobbs a shove. And the boundary throwing in the waning moments of this opening term. 28 minutes travelled. Opening quarter, Essendon by 5. Boundary throwing forward pocket for the Baggers.
Toss back in. DeConing works his way to the front against Draper. Tapped it down to Cripps. Couldn't quite take it cleanly. Now he wrestles with Martin at ground level. McGrath over the top. He's going to be penalised holding the ball. Just a slight fumble from Paddy Cripps as he tried to charge towards the goal mouth, and the siren sounds for quarter time. A pulsating opening term at the MCG in front of what feels like well over 75,000 at the MCG. And Essendon lead by 5 points, 2-4-16 to the Blues, 1-5-11. With goals coming through Langford and Wright for the Bombers, and Alex Chincotta, the goal scorer for the Blues. Earlier today, It was GWS winners by 28 points over North Melbourne, 15-13, 103 to the Roos, 11-9-75. And on the SMS, your texts are always welcome, 0437 774 774. Max asked the question, would this be the biggest Carlton-Essendon game since the elimination final of 2011? Great start to the Camporelli Cup. Do you remember 90-odd thousand, I think, back in on the search for the books?
Yeah, good memories from that year, actually, in 2011, that final clinching, now that you mentioned it, Corbin. So, was it 70-point win? I can't really remember.
Feels like ancient, unimportant history to me, to be honest, Murph, all the way back then.
Oh, well, it's a good final that we've won in the last 20 years anyway, Corbin.
I'm surprised you can't remember it. And Simon in Adelaide says 2 forward lines with the strategy of just bombing it in long and high. Ho-hum. As always, you can get in touch with us. 0437 774 774. It's King's Birthday Eve footy on Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio, ABC Sport Digital, and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
This June, get ready for a huge winter of cricket.
One of the most dramatic mornings Test cricket you'll ever see.
The Women's Ashes.
So Mons, who struck on the pad, and Perry's appealing, and she's got another one.
And a rivalry bigger than the game itself. The Ashes.
Goes in and bowls to Smith, who works that away. There it is. 200, and he'll take another for luck as well.
The Ashes.
On ABC Sport Digital and the ABC Listen app. Just look for the red cricket button.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Aaron Mackay left half forward. They're trying to find an avenue forward. Charlie Curnow with a worm burner inside. It might work into the centre square. Chera to Chin Cotter. He goes for goal from long range. Bounces it through. Opening goal of the match goes Carlton's way. Alex Chincotta with his first goal in AFL footy, and what a time to deliver it.
Falls down to Nick Martin, hand pass goes to Walsh. Walsh is tackled by Hobbs. Going to be holding the ball.
That's a big tackle.
And the top pick from a couple of years ago to the top of the goal square. And Peter Wright, working his way to the front, hangs onto it, top of the goal square. Hasn't played since Ben Rutten's last game in charge, round 23 last year. His first outing under Brad Scott. How they've missed him. Welcome back, Peter Wright. It's a hold for the Bombers. It's coming all the way back. And Langford's going to get a look at them. The Bombers' leading goal kicker this year in the absence of Peter Wright for large periods. Langford, Dobson. Bombers back out in front. Blow for blow in this opening term.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Quarter time at the MCG, and it's the Bombers who lead by 5 points over the Blues, and it must be said it feels like a finals-like atmosphere, if not just the pulsating sound coming through our headphones here at the MCG. Matt Clinch, Corbin Middlemass, Ian Cohen, and the thoughts of your experts, Mark Murphy and Brett Delidio.
Well, you can see that it is that final sight with the pressure that's being applied. A couple of times there inside that forward 50 of Essendon, that the Blues players were just swarming, weren't they? Quick hands, trying to get free. Well done to Carlton not allowing that shot on goal in that instance. But you know what I've liked is the ability of both teams to be able to withstand it a little bit, but not really capitalise in terms of kicking their goals. You know, I feel like Carlton, they've got some looks through playing the old school Pagan's paddock almost, haven't they? They've got everyone right
very
up,
high up the ground,
but they haven't got any key forward down there to actually kick to. So Charlie's getting his shots from 55, 60. You know, and I feel like he could maybe make a little bit more of those balls coming forward.
Which when you say that too, they don't have any keys to go inside 50 to kick to.
Well, Harry's on
It's
the wing,
almost-
and he's kicking it to Charlie, who's 55, 60. So they're just long shots.
Well, yeah, which is almost quite ridiculous when you think about it, that you don't have any of those, one of those two who are Coleman medalists to kick to inside 50. But they are certainly working really high up the ground, trying to limit the damage on the opposite side of the ground, because I felt the first 15 minutes especially was played in Essendon's forward half of the ground. They had 11 inside 50 tackles, the Bombers, and that's a huge number. And then conversely, when we talk about there being no inside 50 targets for Carlton, they had 0 marks for the quarter. So they're getting too high up the ground or then going too quick, whereas sometimes you need to just put the brakes on a little bit, let your forwards get to work, run back towards goal,
Reset.
present some options for you.
I feel like on the flip side of that, with what Essendon's doing, yes, we've got Peter Wright back in our forward line for the Bombers, but let's not just bomb it in there, you know. He's had a couple of really good looks and he's getting separation on Young, being able to get his hands to a couple. They haven't quite stuck. One that was really dubious, I thought, but let's not just keep thinking, we'll just keep pumping it in, you know. Go back to what worked for you over the last few weeks. Langford's been a great target, you know.
Because the first 5 minutes he had looks because he was 1v1, but then after that...
They're like, this is just going to be bombed, so we'll come off that.
There was Lewis Young, McGovern, Wiedering, all in the same contest, all aiming to spoil.
Yeah.
So if you continually go into the one target, it's easy for the defenders to read and come across and help.
Could you put in a case for dropping the merit tag and going to Nick Martin with the form that bloke's in on the wing? Or do you just say to your wingman, tighten up?
No, your wingman's just got to be better. I like the job in which Ed's done so far on Zach Merritt. I think he's only had the 5 disposals and going at 50%. Conversely, the best ball winner in the game, Paddy Cripps, only had the 2 disposals this first quarter. So I want to have a bit of a deep dive and look and see who's actually trying to play on him around the contest. I feel it might be a Caldwell who's probably trying to lock him down around the contest, but really need the Carlton skipper to get going in this second quarter.
I think Stringer being inside, a bigger body, that helps. Perkins, we've seen starting there a couple of times as well, another bigger body. You know, Stringer's had the 9, Perkins has had the 9, so they're just getting to work in there, and I feel like they're just getting to the ball before Paddy is. So I don't think there's been a hard tag from what I've picked up on, but I might be wrong. Very rarely.
Earlier today, by the way, down in Hobart, North Melbourne and GWS, it was a win for the Giants in the finish, so they got up by 28 points to finish over the top of North Melbourne, 15-13 to 11-9. And, of course, one game still to come tomorrow, the King's Birthday blockbuster, the traditional fixture here at the Melbourne Cricket Ground between Collingwood and Melbourne. So all the guys in doubt named, at least for Collingwood. So Josh Dacos, McCreery, Hoskin Elliott, all there. We'll wait and see if they pull up tomorrow.
In the cricket, India 3 for 175. Kohli on 46. Rahane on 29. You've got to have permission to yell out if a wicket falls.
They need a wicket.
Channeling your best, Jim Maxwell. Draper starts the second quarter. He's able to volley it inside 50. McGovern went up on the back of Snelling. Couldn't get a hand to it. Snelling now becomes the tackler. With the ball locked under Louis Young and a ball up just inside 50 for the Bombers. Heading to the punt road in this second quarter, leading by 5 points. Draper and De Koning. De Koning wins down the tap. Akers tries to knock it on. Spills the way of Hobbs. Squeezes a kick out towards Stringer, who got up early before acceptances. Put his hands on the shoulders of Chera. And Adam Chera will take the free kick just 25 metres out from his defensive goal.
He goes back and across to Adam Sard. Sard game number 55 for Carlton after playing 61 with Essendon. And of course, starting his career with 48 games at the Suns. He goes short here to Doherty. He's going to get it back. And there's the reception, the mixed response. Like Vel Perovic and Ange Christou. We get the woof here as he sends his long left footer all the way down that southern wing. Charlie Curnow, the target. He leaps up and comes up with a footy right on the logo of that southern wing for the Blues. He looks laterally all the way along the ground, across the ground, finds Boyd. He takes the mark, still inside the centre square. He's going to kick into Mackay direction, caught in a tangle and handles back to lend a hand. Takes the intercept mark for Essendon. The Bombers by 5 points, a minute played. Second quarter goes all the way back to the opposite back pocket for Redmond.
He chips it over the top to Ridley. He's got options on half-back. Archie Perkins has won. He marks and looks to move it within 10. Out to right half-back where Menzie takes the mark. Hard up against the boundary. Right half-back, Bombers leading by 5 points. 2 minutes into the second quarter. Jai Menzie as far as he can up in the direction of Wiedemann. Flying was Kemp, who brought it down at ground level. Young gets the hand pass back to Jacob Wiedering. He's hurried his kick and he missed Doherty. The only blessing was it didn't go out on the full. It skidded off the turf across the boundary line. Southern side, Bombers leading by 5 points. Ian Cohen on the boundary.
Keeping an eye on Blake Acres. He started on this members side wing. He stayed on the members side wing, and he is the passageway in for the Blues at the moment. He had 5 or 6 in the opening term, and they're going to be looking to him to bring it forward.
Thanks, Goza. Sammy Durham towards half forward for the Bombers. Mitch McGovern read it best. And the size mismatch against Wiedemann, and he was able to take the mark for the Blues. Short to Sam Doherty at left half back. Bombers by 5.
And 2 goals in the first 8 minutes, and then only one since. Came at the 18-minute mark of the opening quarter. He spears the kick to Ed Curnow, gets it back. Doherty through the centre square, links up with Chera, collects on the bounce, heads inside 50, and Nick Martin In fact, Jack Martin takes the mark. Nick Martin, of course, red and black tonight.
It's been a ball movement from Carlton. I was a bit worried when they went just side, but then it was Sam Doherty to hit up Ed Curnow on a lead, and then Ed Curnow just to give a handball receive, which then breaks the line and just creates some sort of movement. And it didn't hit the target on the chest, but it put it out into space of Adanchera, and then just used the ball really well to Jack Martin, who drifted out the back.
So keeping up with the Joneses, but keeping up with the Martins. A couple of them out there tonight. This is Jack in jumper number 21. His kick is out to the right and he misses. Jack Martin, just his second game for the year. Played in the draw back in round one. Missed a heap of footy with a calf complaint through the VFL last week, and one of the two inclusions for the Baggers tonight.
Calves. Straight down the middle. Finds Perkins 35 metres out from his defensive goal. It's probably been one area of their free agency they just haven't got as much out of Jack Martin as they would have hoped. He sends it towards Carl Langford. Can't take the mark, but spoils it down to Heppel. Hand pass to Guelphy. Quite link up with Snelling, who now has to become the tackler on Mitch McGovern. Chera tries to knock it back to McGovern. Releases Sam Walsh with a hand pass. Looks up inside 50. Harry Mackay one-on-one with Zerk Thatcher. It clears to the back. Redmond after it, a whistle. Free kick Blues way. Harry Mackay was held in the eyes of the umpire. And we'll line up on a 45-degree angle in the right forward pocket. Now the question is the drop punt or the snap on the left?
Definitely the snap.
It'll definitely be the snap.
Struggling to see where that free kick was, but I know all backmen will plead their case.
It was very stiff Zerk Thatcher then. I thought he was just holding his own ground, wasn't he?
Battle of strength.
3 goals, 2 last week. This is important. He steps out, snaps on his left, and just got there, or did he? Mason Redmond got a fist onto it right on the goal line. And a minor score as he struggled to kick 35 metres. And a few of the Bombers are letting Big H know about it. Bombers by 4 points.
It's about a 50-50 crowd, and it felt like there was equally as big a roar. Had he kicked it, I had fallen short. And the Bombers fans, as Clinchy said, joining in. The theatre of the night as Langford marks in the back pocket and goes long out to half-back to Wiedemann. The Weed crowd chant goes around the stadium as he looks inboard to Heppel, links up with McGrath, hand pass to Perkins through the middle of the G. Kicks to Draper, nice build-up for Essendon. Floats a high ball into the pocket. Guelphy can't quite take the sprawling mark. Sits up for Wiedemann of the Blues, hand pass out to Akers, handball to Ed Curnow. Hurried kick across the body, unkind bounce for McGrath for the Bombers. Big collision. Redmond and Akers bang bodies. Ball comes out to Kennedy, the Blues. Hand pass to Chera through the middle of the G. Kicks out into open space at half forward. Owies runs onto it. Back onto the right peg. From 50 out, kicks to the goal square. Martin goes up, no mark.
Free kick. Run on contact.
He's going to get a free. For just that, Lids. Coming back, Laverty trying to put him off. Jack Martin snaps it across his body and hooks it through for a goal. Up to 7 straight behinds. Jack Martin pops one through from point-blank range. And we have lead change number 5. It's Carlton by 3 points. 6 gone second term. 2-7 to 2-4. Mark Murphy, Brett Delidio.
Well, how good was that hit down here just in front of us? Redmond Akers. Don't tell me our game's gone too soft, because that was just 2 players going head-to-head. Loved it. Didn't take their eye off the ball. No one got anyone high. And then it was they got the ball back through the middle, Chera, and he goes wide.
Just playing a little bit of like instinct and just taking a little bit of risk and using the hands and the run. Like, you'd like to see that. I mean, the way in which Essendon moved the ball up the ground before that was great Essendon football. That's where they're starting to make their name around. I'd love to see Carlton do that conversely, but I like the way in which they actually just tried to run and gun through the corridor. They didn't quite get it right in terms of the execution, but well done Jack Martin, who drew the free kick.
Mark Murphy with you on ABC Sport. Blues at the first goal of the second quarter as Kennedy eventually gets the clearance, sends it inside 50. Charlie Curnow comes out, can't take the mark. Redmond tackled by Owies. Did he get a hand pass away? Doesn't matter. Doherty back to Jack Martin, swings onto his left. Can't quite double up. He misses to the left-hand side. And a minor score as the Blues lead by 4 points. 7 minutes gone, second quarter.
Don's wasting no time. Laverty marks the kick out at half-back. Short to Draper. Defensive side of the wing. Kicks up into the front half, and Phillips wrong-footed. Wiedemann takes the intercept mark. So 2 Martins, a Wiedemann, a Wiedemann. Out on the park tonight. Phillips against his old team. Saad likewise. A kick from Wiedering, goes down the wing. Mackay can't collect it. Spills through to Cripps. Cripps, an ugly kick inside 50, puts it out on the full. Little uncharacteristic. And Ridley brings it back in fast to Hind, who marks at half-back.
He's never been known for his left foot, Paddy Cripps.
No. Almost ended up in the...
Used for balance usually.
Yep. Brand new boot.
In the slide where the big free's going to take place, covered up with a banner of Nick Danaher. Hind trying to switch play, turns it over. From the top of the goal square, headed out to the left-back flank, kicks it straight to Charlie Curnow. The Coleman medal leader has it right half forward, and this is well and truly in his range.
You can see Nick Hind there just thinking, oh no, I'm left on an island here. I don't know where I'm going to go. I'm not sure. I can't go back the other way, and I haven't got the leg to get it far enough over Charlie's head. Well played by Carlton defence there, while they're forwards.
Had a look earlier, hit the post. Charlie Curnow to start his night. Starts it out to the right, he misses. A couple of behinds for Curnow. In fact, he's fourth behind. 2 from set shots, 2 from general play. So 7 kicks, 0 goals, 4 for the Coleman medal leader. It's Carlton by 5, 9 gone, second term.
Bombers with a long kick out of defence. Mitch McGovern landed awkwardly. Wiedemann got it down. Hobbs trying to break out. He's tackled, but tackled high. The DRS for the Aussies with Virat Kohli on 49, not catching the outside edge, but he's out, Mark Murphy.
What a catch and second slip.
Boland with the wicket.
That was a screamer.
ABC Listen App, India 4 for 179 in the World Test Championship final. Kicks up towards Phillips. Can't quite take the mark for the Bombers. Akers is onto it between wing and half back on the southern side. It's a very high kick towards half forward. Have a go at that. In the end, Zirk Thatcher gave away the free kick for a hold on Harry Mackay. And Mackay will take it centre wing. He wants to come inboard to Matt Kennedy. He's got options in the middle of the ground. Chincotter's one. The kick is over his head. It may still work as Sardran's onto it. Looks out wide to right half forward. Cottrell's on the long lead. And he marks 52 metres out from goal. Martin wants it. That's Jack Martin. He pokes it over the top. And he marks hard against the boundary. Thought about coming inboard to Owies. Now we'll go back for the set shot.
Be right on his distance here. Jack Martin, he'd probably be kicking from just on 50, probably 5 or 6 metres inside the boundary line. He's been pretty influential in this second quarter. He's had a few shots at goal already. Kicked the 1-goal-1.
Got some breaking news for you in a moment as well. Clinchy out of the Richmond Football Club.
So Jack Martin out to the right, looking to try and extend the Blues lead. He centres it to the top of the goal square. Motlop had to fly. Cripps stays down. He can't bust his way through as Archie Perkins locks him up at the top of the defensive goal square. The ball is kicked through. Ian Cohen on the boundary.
Just keeping an eye on Mitch McGovern, who fell heavily in that marking contest. His right arm, right shoulder, right wrist. He's been trying to shake it out. The medical team have been out to him.
Carlton lead the game by 5 from the restart. His kick smothered, ends up out of play. Mitch Cleary, the best newsbreaker in footy, reporting Richmond's Marlon Pickett is tonight in custody in Perth. He has been arrested and charged in relation to alleged aggravated burglary, stealing and criminal damage offences across December and January in WA. He'll face court tomorrow. So Mitch Cleary on Twitter, Richmond's Marlon Pickett in custody in Perth tonight.
January 23.
Jack Silvani wins down the tap towards Hobbs. Blues deep in attack. Hobbs is taken high. And a free kick going the way of Essendon. So more updates to come at half time.
That baffles me, that does.
Ben Hobbs has it in the left back pocket for the Bombers. It's been a lot down Carlton's end. Up towards Peter Wright. Kemp in front. Spills to the very back. Jacob Wiedering inside 50. Harry Mackay sets himself. Flies against Zirk Thatcher. Spills the way of Redmond. He's tackled over the boundary line by Harry, and they tangle into a cameraman.
Here we go.
And as you'd imagine, a few of the Essendon players didn't quite like the extra attention to Mason Redmond. But Peter's out eventually in a boundary throw in. 45 metres out from Carlton's goal.
Can we go back and talk about Steve Smith's catch at second slip?
Just wait for the next stoppage.
I thought Cam Green's was unbelievable the other night.
Coley out for 49. Carlton by 5. Boundary throw in. Phillips wins it down for the Bombers, but Doherty for the Blues. Hand pass to Kennedy. Floats a kick inside 50. Jack Martin flies for it. Bounces off his scone. Spills down to Motlop. He runs into trouble. Caught by Durham. Hump says holding the ball. The Bombers aren't wasting any time. Snelling. Hand pass to Nick Martin. He gives it to Caldwell. Kicks out to the southern wing. And Wiedemann takes the mark for Essendon. Hand pass away to Redmond. He was running forward. He retreats back and finds Snelling. Still on the logo, southern wing. Short kick to Caldwell between wing and half forward.
We've got another one. It's 5-4.
Scotty Boland, the Victorian.
The kick goes out wide. The mark taken by Wiedemann again. Kick goes inside the forward 50. Nick Martin flies at the 40 and takes it. Centre half forward for Essendon. And Nick Martin can have a look at them to try and put Essendon back in front. There's a whole heap going on all sorts of fronts in the AFL world. Carlton lead this game by 5 points. Nick Martin has a chance to try and change that. And in the cricket, Ravindra Jadeja. Jadoo, he's out. So India 5 for 179. There is a call available, of course, through the ABC Listen app. Just look out for the red cricket ball. Final day of the World Test Championship. The Aussies chasing the title as the best team in Test cricket. Nick Martin, right-footed drop punt at the G. He's going to miss near side. 5 lead changes already. Carlton by 4 points. 14 gone second term. Ian Cohen is on the boundary. Koza.
Mason Redmond's had the angry pills. He was running towards the bench. He cleaned up Ed Curnow, then had a go at a couple more blues. And the other thing is Sam Draper at the moment getting work on the left-hand upper thigh.
Thanks, Koza. Boyd into Louis Martin. Louis Young, he gives it back to Boyd. Long kick up towards the wing. Paddy Cripps flies in from the side. A free kick. Harry Mackay was impeded before the ball arrives. So he'll take the free kick between wing and half back on the members' side. He veers out to his left and looks to send it towards Charlie Curnow. Setting himself Laverty. Can't take the mark. Charlie Curnow's onto it. Hand pass inside towards Paddy Cripps, who cuts back on his right. Kicked into the back of Jack Silvani. Can't take it. He now tackles Merritt. Didn't get a hand pass away. Spills to Hobbs. Hand pass away to Heppel. Links up with McGrath. Hand pass to Caldwell. Up to the members' wing. Louis Young well set. He takes the intercepting mark against Peter Wright for the Blues.
Young surprisingly out of the team a couple of weeks ago against the Swans. He goes back to Kemp on the back flank. He was so good last week in a beaten cause against Melbourne. Short to Ed Curnow. Looks in the middle of the G. Finds Chincotta. 2-9 to 2-5. And Chincotta goes all the way out to the southern wing for Chera. Low kick. Gets to Doherty on the bounce. Hand pass away to Walsh. He fumbles. Pack forms around Doherty. Snelling tackles him. And the ball up left half forward for Carlton. Blue Baggers by 4 points. 15 gone. Second term. 2 goals each. 5 lead changes already here at the G.
Phillips one down the tap against Silvani, but straight to Akers. Gives the hand pass to Chera for Carlton. Cripps' kick inside 50. Spoiled away from Owies by Hine. Now the foot race is on. Hine can't reel it in as it rolls out of play. At left half forward for the Blues. Carlton by 4 points. 15 minutes gone. Second quarter at the MCG. Around the grounds. I know the scoreboard's gone. I won't make you do that, Lids. But the Aussies picking up a couple of wickets.
5 for 183.
Scott Boland picking up 2 wickets in and over. From the throw-in, Phillips tries to take it out of the ruck. He's tackled immediately by Cripps with support from Jack Silvani, and the umpire will ball it up.
And nearly had another one too, mind you.
Oh.
Edge over slips.
12 to 3 inside 50s in this quarter by Carlton.
Still just 2 goals each in the game from the restart. Nick Martin, hand pass, wanted to get it to Heppel. It's broken up. Cripps for Carlton. Hand pass away to Walsh. He gives it to Akers, trying to come back onto his right side. Hooks a kick inside 50. Snelling. Oh, back behind the ball. Drops a chest mark. Now he's under the pump. Hand pass goes straight away to Ed Curnow. Kicks deeper inside 50. Ridley's back. Saves the day for the Dons. Kicks all the way out wide for Peter Wright, who takes the mark left half back. He kicked a goal in the opening term. Carlton lead the match by 4 points. 17 gone second term.
First game of 2023 for the Bombers, leading goal kicker up towards Phillips. Wiedering slides in, spoils it down. Guelphy's hand pass to Durham. Into the middle for Nick Martin. They're out now. Menzies at left half forward. He winds up, feeds the hand pass away to Wiedemann. He turns on his right, kicks towards goal, and it sprays out to the left. Probably if he had his time back, he might have fed one more hand pass, a minor score for the Bombers, and it's a 3-point lead the Blues way at the 17-minute mark of the second term.
24-year-old Jordan Boyd brings it back into play. Good kick too. Finds Wiedering at half-back. Corbin Middlemass, Matt Clinch, Ian Cohen on the boundary, Mark Murphy, Brett Delidio. And Grandstand AFL for this King's Birthday Eve blockbuster. Brian Cook told me earlier, hoping to become an annual event to lead into Collingwood and Melbourne, of course. Traditional game on the Monday. The kick from Cottrell goes down the wing, fisted away by the Dons, but straight to Walsh, just evades the Merritt tackle. Hand pass to Kennedy for Carlton. Kicks to a couple of one-on-ones down at half forward. Always has it knocked away from him. Hine does well for the Bombers on the 1%. Falls down to Snelling. He's tackled out of play. He tackled high, in fact. Free kick.
Thought it was well done by Matty Owis, but obviously just slipped a little bit high. Competed really well for that inside 50 target. I thought he got a boundary line throw in.
A couple of giants down there tackling each other. Big boys.
Snelling at half-back, kicks down the wing, hands to it from Phillips, no mark, falls to Carlton. And Chera, hand pass to Sard. His hand pass knocked down by Durham. Now Sard gets another go, hand pass away to Walsh, kicks inboard, dangerous. Cripps touched it, free kick, arms chopped, Cripps will get it. The Brownlow medalist with it for Carlton on the wing.
Feeds the hand pass away to Boyd, sends the Blues deep inside 50. Mackay the target against Zerk Thatcher, almost pulled in the left-handed mark. Zerk Thatcher redeems himself, hand pass to McGrath, a clearing kick, it's a 2-on-1 Carlton's way. Cripps spoils it down, hand pass though, as Cottrell's locked up and didn't get a hand pass away holding the ball.
He's trying really hard defensively, Zach Merritt, laid a couple of big tackles, put on some good chases, good reward there, just holding on to that right hand of Cottrell.
Ian Cohen on the boundary.
We know the Blues are playing a very tall Bombers outfit. They can ill afford to lose Jack Silvani, but he's been worked on the bench and his left thigh very heavily strapped now.
Risky kick into the middle of the ground for Zach Merritt. Didn't work. Chera kicks inside 50. Harry Mackay chopping at the arms against Brandon Zerk Thatcher. And Mackay on the lead. In the end, Zerk Thatcher panicked and gave away the free kick, and Harry will get another opportunity, this time directly in front, 45 metres out from goal. Surely this will be the drop punt.
Yeah, it wasn't really necessary, was it? Because the kick from Adam Chera just had too much on it. So it was certainly travelling over the back, and there was no real need to make contact at all by Zerk Thatcher.
Harry Mackay looking for his first of the night. That's better. Steers it straight through the middle. And a roar erupts amongst the Carlton faithful as they lead by 9 points in a tight tussle. 3-9-27 to the Bombers, 2-6-18. There's been a lot of action, but only 2 goals scored the Blues way as they open up a 9-point advantage.
Yeah, they've had the majority of it, haven't they? Today, it's all been to that scoring end, Murph. You know, it goes downhill a little bit that way.
The win.
Towards the city, but they just haven't been able to capitalise. And, you know, the Bombers' defence have been under the pump. You can understand them getting a bit grabby, you know, chopping on the old arms, but they didn't need to there with Zerk Thatcher. That kick wasn't great, but well done, Harry Mackay. You'd know that he'd be putting in a power of work.
You'd almost want them 45-50 out at the moment, so he doesn't have to go
it's
around
a free
and
hit.
snap.
Yeah, it's a free hit.
You can just tell it's in his head at the moment, but yeah, they're still very scratchy going inside 50 at the moment, Carlton, but Essendon, to their credit, have been really strong there.
Blues by 9 points. It's a game high. Carlton's way. Back in the middle. Slipping over Akers in off the wing. Ball sits for Guelphy of Essendon. Hand pass to Merritt. Kicks out wide to the wing. Stringer's there for the Dons. Hand pass to Cordwell. Sweeping handball to Menzies. He can lift it inside 50 to Phillips. Has to get boot to ball. Kicks back to the hot spot. Leaping up. Snelling takes the mark. In the corridor, 30 metres out.
Wow, that was a lot better than his centering ball last week. Albeit it was not as fancy. I'm not sure whether you caught that one, Murph. Big Phillips, he's gone to kick a snap around the corner and hit the wrong side of the footy, and it's gone to Nick Martin. That was a perfect drop punt. Well done, well protected. It allowed the little fella to take an overhead mark, and they need this one back, the Bombers.
It's been a tough tussle so far. Low scoring affair. Low trajectory drop punt, but through it goes. Snelling keeps Essendon within a kick. 22 gone second term, 3-6 to 3-9. The Blue Baggers by 3 points. Mark Murphy, Brett Delidio.
Yeah, it was a bit of a let-off there by Carlton, just when you think they're doing enough to put pressure on the scoreboard, and they've had a lot of the play in the forward half of their ground, as Brett Delidio said prior to that. But just to send a clearance and just to get one out, and they kept on trading up, the Carlton defenders, but they just kept on finding one over the top. Essendon, to be able to give Will Snelling, who's 174 and probably the best sort of day of his life in terms of height, to have a mark inside 50 is sort of pretty disappointing from Carlton's view, because you should be able to get that one to ground at very least. But they just tend to be a bit tighter on their defence than Carlton, because they've had so much of the play in this second quarter.
The voice of Mark Murphy with you on ABC Sport. The bounce will be recalled as it sprayed out to the right. And Draper was able to comfortably take it. Carlton with 2 goals, 4 in this second quarter. The Bombers 1-2. Toss back up in the air to Koning and Draper. Spills the way of Draper, who hacks it forward. Chincotta was able to gather. Hand pass to Cripps. Links up with De Koning. Hand pass to Matt Kennedy. He looks up inside 50. Sends it towards Harry Mackay. It's wide of him. There's a kick centrally as Mackay was leading forward, and Zerk Thatcher takes the mark. Goes short to Hobbs, who has it 40 metres out from his defensive goal. At the city end of the MCG. The Blues 3-9-27. Lead the Bombers 3-6-24. As he goes short to Nick Martin. Leading possession getter on the ground in the opening quarter. Sends it low and firm into the middle of the ground. Jai Menzies leading forward, takes the mark. Hand pass to Hine. Sends them towards Peter Wright on 50. Back with the flight was Louis Young. He gave away the free kick. Umpire said front on contact, and Peter Wright has it within range.
Yeah, it's one of those classic ones where the defender's just caught underneath the ball and has no other option than to make physical contact with no eyes on the football. Always going to be a free kick.
Love that kick at Nick Martin into the centre, though.
Just breaks the game open, doesn't it?
And then the handball receive, though, it just gives one-on-one opportunities.
Lets the forwards just play on instinct, doesn't it? You see the handball receive, and all of a sudden their first movement, so just catches the defence off guard.
Hard out to the left. Peter Wright with 1 goal already from right on 50. Bends it from right to left and straight through the middle. Instant impact for Peter Wright. And the Bombers are back in front by 3 points. Wright with his second. They're 4-6-30 to the Blues 3-9-27. 2 goals in 3 minutes from the Bombers to wrestle back the lead at time on in the second term.
There's a couple of great kicks there because Hobbs looked like he was just going to bail out to the wing here. Jake Stringer standing there 1v1. Instead goes short to Martin just at the last minute, which breaks it up again. So, we've got to defend for a bit longer, Carlton. Then Martin says, I'm going to pull the trigger. Are you going to drop off? I'm going to go into the centre of the corridor. Hines like, there's an easy opportunity. Bang on pass, and before you know it, they're having a shot on goal. Just that little lapse in concentration from Essendon allows Essendon just to pull the trigger and march the ball the length of the ground.
Yep, and great courage to have a go at your kick inside the corridor.
Bombers by 3, 6th lead change of the night. Time on in this second term. Back in the middle. Chera on his hands and knees extracts it for Carlton, but the umpire said he threw that out. And it's going to be a free kick for the Bombers. And it'll be Essendon with the centre break, and Stringer's going to take it. Walsh wasn't happy with the call, neither were the Carlton fans seeing the replay. He goes out wide, Stringer to Redmond, between wing and half forward, a deep entry inside 50. Wiedering gets across to mark in front of Wiedemann.
It's been good tonight, Jacob Wiedering. I think he's had his knockers on this season, but tonight he's been really solid down defence and taking some good marks and been a really solid contributor so far.
Goes short to Walsh. Walsh goes long out to Charlie Curnow. No mark, but he had his arms chopped trying to take it against Laverty, and a free kick for Charlie Curnow. Essendon by 3 points. Just repeating the news, Mitch Cleary a few moments ago, Richmond's Marlon Pickett is tonight in custody in Perth. He's been arrested and charged in relation to alleged aggravated burglary, stealing and criminal damages for offences across December and January in WA. He's going to face court tomorrow. So Marlon Pickett from the Tigers. More on that a little later as the kick from Curnow heads down the wing. Cottrell's hand pass is a turnover. Redmond for Essendon. Hand pass goes forward to Laverty. Handball back to Merritt. He's tackled, dispossessed. Ed Curnow to Charlie. Hand pass to McGovern. Handball to Walsh on the southern wing.
Inboard to Chincotta. Had to get around Menzies. Hand pass over his shoulder. Didn't sit for Cam. Now he dives on the footy. Zerk Thatcher over the top of him. He can't get clear as he was able to eventually get to his feet. And that probably gave him the benefit of the doubt. Umpire to ball it up in the middle of the MCG. Just to the right of the centre circles. Essendon leading by 3 points. Draper just slaps it forward, but the Blues are set defensive side. Chera with the hand pass to Kemp. Kicks through the middle of the MCG to Jack Martin. Gives the hand pass to Doherty. Inside 50, Owies out number 2 on 1. Gets to the back. Harry Mackay slipped over. Couldn't get the hand pass to Owies. Doherty tries to squeeze a kick forward. It bounces towards the goal mouth, but I'll fly to the left. And through for a minor score. Bombers lead by 2 points. 27 minutes gone second quarter. Meanwhile, in the cricket, India 5 for 184. With Rahane on 31.
Just again, that last inside 50 kick by Carl, just been the story of their year. They just can't seem to connect. They're very good around the ground in terms of hitting that target, but inside 50, it's another story, isn't it? That's the real money kick. You just need to try and make them and you're worth your weight in gold if you can, if you're a midfielder or a high half forward.
Essendon by 2 at half-time. 4:6:30, Carlton 3:10-28. It's been an arm wrestle. It's been a highly engrossing, entertaining game, despite the fact it hasn't been particularly high scoring. You'd think there's 80,000 plus in to see it, and what they're hoping will become an annual event on the eve of the holiday here in Melbourne and in a lot of states on the East Coast, with the King's birthday holiday tomorrow. And the rivalry clash between Essendon and Carlton, the Bombers by 2 at half-time. 6 lead changes in that opening quarter of footy. The biggest lead either way was Carlton by 9 points time on in that second quarter. The Bombers pegging it back with the last 2 goals of the term. The goal kickers clinch it at half-time. Pretty quick reading. Peter Wright's got a couple on his return. First game for the new season. Snelling has 1. Langford has 1 for the Bombers. And for Carlton, Harry Mackay, Jack Martin, both with 1 each, and Alex Chincotta kicks the first goal of his career and the first goal of the night, all with 1 for Carlton.
The thoughts of Mark Murphy and Brett Delidio, your experts on ABC Sport.
Yeah, just to go on with what you were saying then, Murph, that money kick going back inside 50, that one of Jack Martin was the perfect place you really want to get the footy. You know, inside that 50 to 70, and it wasn't the time to play on. I understand they're trying to create run and involve their half-backs and their mids, get them, you know, ignited and get the speed on the ball, but it also puts pressure on, you know, and he got squeezed, and that's what forced that kick to be a turnover. You know, that's the time where Jack just pull back 8 steps and then go around 2 and wheel, and then Harry and Charlie know that you're a right footer. It's probably going to go there, and I'm already into my move.
It's just the composure, isn't it, in that area of the ground where you need your best ball users to understand the situation and to know what is required. But I don't really hold it against Jack Martin for giving the handball. It probably shouldn't have been called for by Sam Doherty, because he knows what's ahead of him, and it was from a stoppage too, and Essendon like to play that +1 defender in. So if you get a mark 70 out, get off the mark, have a look first rather than playing on, unless you clear out and whoever's calling for it can see the next option. I think it's very different than when you're in your D50 or your back half the ground, you get that run and receive, because then you create some numbers. But when you do get that mark from 70 out from a stoppage, you need to almost have a look before you go. But I thought it was just a quarter of missed opportunities from Carlton in the end. You kick 3 goals 10, and they had so many opportunities that they probably would have kicked. I think Charlie kicked 0-4 for the night. 2 of them, more than gettable. So you go back and kick that, and then that puts you 4 goals up. And Essendon didn't have the run of play, but then they go down and score a couple of goals, and now they find themselves in front of the scoreboard. So again, it's the same old story with Carlton. They have the opportunities. They're getting enough inside 50s. They're having 13 scoring shots in a half of football. You kick 3 goals 10, you're not going to win too many games doing that.
And that's without your prime mover, your Brownlow medalist, hardly...
He's having a tough night, isn't he?
He's having a tough night. 8 touches, 3 kicks, 0% kicking efficiency. So, they'll get more out of him, no doubt. But, they've had so many opportunities. But the guy we did speak about, Adam Chera, I think he can hold his head high. He's been giving them a lot of drive through there. And Doherty's trying. He's trying to create.
He's trying to go through the corridor at all costs, isn't he? So he's the one who's certainly getting high up the ground. He's been coming off a half-forward flank and being that extra midfielder around the stoppage and up the ground and working hard, getting forward. And he's always looking through the corridor. You can't begrudge him doing that. But I think their method has been a little bit better. But again, they're just falling over from that kick going inside 50. And then once they get that opportunity to kick the goal, they're just not, unfortunately, putting it through the big sticks.
So that's the footy. Bombers leading by 2 points at half-time. Steve Smith's catch for Virat Kohli. How would you describe it, Murph?
Oh, just special. I love watching Steve Smith play cricket. And
Smudge.
It was just, just one of those special catches. And off Virat Kohli too, who Virat and Steve Smith have been the 2 best batsmen over the past decade, haven't they, to watch them go toe-to-toe. And you just knew that once Stephen Smith took that grab and it was Virat Kohli who snicked it, it was just great cricket if you're an Australian.
So there's the context from Mark Murphy. Here's the voice of some of Jim Maxwell, as called on the ABC Listen app.
Boland once more. He comes up, he bowls to Kohli's on foot. And it's brilliantly caught. What a catch by Smith. Another brilliant Australian catch. Kohli went to drive. He didn't get to the pitch of it. He edged it, and Smith hurled himself away to his right and clutched it airborne. A brilliant, brilliant catch, and that does put a bit of silence into the crowd with Kohli out for 49. A huge wicket. Boland's got it. A loose shot from Coley and a lovely interception by Steve Smith at second slip, moving away to his right.
The voice of summer, Jim Maxwell. Australia needing 5 wickets for victory in the World Test Championship final. India 5 for 186. We'll pause for the moment from the MCG and get the latest from the ABC Newsroom.
ABC News with David Rowlands. Labor will try to legislate its $10 billion Housing Australia Future Fund this week, despite opposition from the Coalition and the Greens. Cayman Gock reports from Canberra.
The fund would contribute up to $500 million a year on social and affordable housing. Labor says it would build 30,000 homes over 5 years. If the government can negotiate the Greens' support, it will be home and dry. But the Greens have 2 demands. Increase the funding to $2.5 billion annually starting this year and have the federal government coordinate a national rent freeze. The government failed to pass the bill back in March, and last month it was blocked from bringing on another vote in the Senate. If it fails again, it'll be the Albanese government's first major legislative defeat.
The New South Wales Premier says residents will have more time to get help from the state government to resolve defects in new unit blocks. The Project Intervene program lets owners of poorly built units avoid the legal system and use the State Building Commissioner to negotiate with developers. Registrations were meant to close this month, but will now stay open until November. In breaking news, a 28-year-old police officer who was critically injured after being dragged under a vehicle while on duty in the eastern Perth suburb of Ascot last week has died. The Western Australian Police Force has paid tribute to Constable Anthony Woods. In a statement issued a short time ago, the police say their thoughts and prayers are with Anthony's family and colleagues. South Australia's police force will be allocated $81 million in this week's state budget in a bid to relieve pressure from staff shortages. Nearly 200 extra staff will be recruited to return more police officers to frontline duties. An additional $12.2 million will be allocated to recruit over 900 new police cadets by the year 2026. A man has been shot dead in Sydney's west this afternoon. Emergency services were called to Factory Street in Granville around 4:30. Police say they found a man with a gunshot wound and he died at the scene. It's believed that he's aged in his 40s. 3 teenagers have been charged after the body of a man was found inside a home in Western Sydney. Tony Ibrahim has the details.
Paramedics found an unresponsive man in a bedroom when they were called to a home in Tregear in Sydney's west late last night. They tried to revive the 32-year-old, who police say was allegedly injured in a fight, but he died at the scene. 3 people were arrested and have been charged. An 18-year-old male faces a charge of murder, while a 19-year-old man and a 16-year-old girl have been charged with assault. Police say there will be a post-mortem to find out the cause of death.
Police say they're treating a fatal 2-vehicle crash in the New South Wales Central West as a domestic-related incident. A 36-year-old woman driving a sedan died when it collided with a ute in Molong on Friday. The 2 passengers, aged 8 and 13, suffered minor injuries. Police say a 35-year-old man driving the ute was known to the woman and remains in a critical condition. Carbon Mayor Kevin Beattie says the small community is in shock.
You walk down the street and everybody knows each other, and very loving community, and just a very warm community, which is now completely shocked after the events of Friday.
Former US President Donald Trump has made his first public appearance at a Republican convention in Georgia since being indicted on 37 charges over his handling of classified documents. The BBC's Jessica Parker reports.
He may be due in court on Tuesday, but Donald Trump's not huddled at home with his lawyers. He's out on the stump, insisting he's innocent. It's at his Florida home where prosecutors allege Donald Trump kept classified files including nuclear and military secrets and tried to obstruct an inquiry into the missing documents. The accusations against Donald Trump are serious, and it's not the only legal battle he's facing. Nevertheless, his name is still stamped all over this party.
Socceroos goalkeeper Matt Ryan says he won't feel any sense of intimidation when he comes up against Argentine legend Lionel Messi. Messi will lead out the world champions against Australia on Thursday night in China after he scored in his team's 2-1 round of 16 World Cup win over the Socceroos late last year. Ryan says he won't view Messi differently to anyone else on the pitch.
Go out there, almost not giving an identity to the opposition, whether it be an individual or a team, and I'll just go out there and help, our nation do the best that it can.
Mornings.
Demand for share house rooms is rising, including for people aged 45 to 65.
I have a room that I'd like to rent out, but I'd like to rent it out to a mature woman that was in probably the same situation that I was in 16 years ago, where I was left virtually homeless.
Good on you. I love that you want to give back, Christine.
Perhaps she should contact somebody like the St Vincent de Paul Society.
There's lots of mutual benefits as well.
Mornings with Sarah McDonald. Weekdays from 8:30 on ABC Radio Sydney. Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Always runs onto it, back onto the right peg, from 50 out, kicks to the goal square, Martin goes up, no mark. He's going to get a free. Jack Martin snaps it across his body and hooks it through for a goal.
Chera kicks inside 50, Harry Mackay chopping at the arms. Harry Mackay looking for his first of the night, that's better. Steers it straight through the middle. And a roar erupts amongst the Carlton faithful.
Menzie, he can lift it inside 50 to Phillips. Has to get boot the ball, kicks back to the hot spot. Leaping it up, Snelling takes the mark. In the corridor, 30 metres out. It's been a tough tussle. So far, low scoring affair. Low trajectory drop punt, but through it goes. Snelling kicks Essendon within a kick.
Pass to Hine, sends them towards Peter Wright on 50. Back with the flight was Louis Young, who gave away the free kick. Hard out to the left, Peter Wright with one goal already from right on 50. Bends it from right to left and straight through the middle. Instant impact for Peter Wright.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Half-time at the MCG, Sunday King's Birthday Eve, and it's the Bombers who lead by 2 points over the Blues. 4-6-30 to Carlton 3-10-28 on Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio, ABC Sport Digital, and now streaming on the ABC Listen app. Just look for the AFL button. Just look for the cricket button as well, with the Test World Championship taking place. India 5 for 190. Australia chasing 5 wickets for victory, with Cameron Green in rotation at the moment. So if you want to listen to that, just download the ABC Listen app and look for the cricket button, as you'll find all the Ashes. It's going to be a big 6 weeks coming up, and it's the perfect companion as you try and make your way through the night for as much as you can possibly follow. Matt Clinch alongside Corbin Middlemass call the action. Ian Cohen is down on the boundary. Mark Murphy and Brett Delidio are your experts on ABC Sport. It's hard to get past the news that has just come out only half an hour or so ago around the breaking news with Richmond midfielder Marlon Pickett, who is in custody tonight after being arrested in Perth, having played in the Richmond side against the Fremantle Dockers last night. The alleged offences occurred in December 2022 and January 2023. So he will face the Perth Magistrates Court tomorrow morning for a bail hearing. But it's just incredible. We were talking about it just as the news were taking place, to think that this storyline is taking place with a current AFL player.
I know. Right, he's a contracted player, and what are they? Is Mitch reporting that it was January, December, like just gone?
Yes, yep, 22-23.
December 22, January 2023.
Wow, I can't get my head around that you put yourself in that sort of position, or things would be that dire that you'd need to. But here we are. So we'll find out more about it tomorrow, I suppose.
So remanded in custody on alleged burglary charges, and will attend the Perth Magistrate Court 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, so I imagine that's sort of WA time. It's before the court, so the club saying we'll make no other comment. Interestingly, a quote from Ryan Daniels quoting Anthony Vanderwellen, who is the manager of Marlon Pickett, saying, in response to the allegations, Marlon has a strong intent to defend himself against the charges. So goes on to say, due to ongoing legal nature of the proceedings, Marlon or myself will not be able to provide any further details at this stage.
Well, yeah, we shouldn't assume guilt, should we, straight away until we find out the full story. So,
yep, but in court tomorrow.
Yeah,
but as Quincy said, even so, a current AFL player who's
caught up in that.
Yeah, and it's an enormous story, and obviously one that Richmond will have to deal with the very present sort of here and now situation, and then for Marlon, whatever it means sort of legally for them. But it's not an everyday story where you hear of a player being arrested.
31 years of age, has played all 13 games. The Tigers have the Saints next Saturday night. So,
Maddie's match? Is that Maddie's match?
Yeah, traditionally it has been. So still a week to go before they get to their bye and a little bit more free airtime. Earlier today it was the Giants who recorded a 28-point victory over North Melbourne. So GWS 15-13, 103, defeating North Melbourne 11-9, 75 in a match in which Toby Green booted 3 goals. Callum Brown kicked 3 as well, so an unlikely goal scorer. Nick Larkey with 4. So the Giants recording a win after a string of close losses for them. They moved to 4 and 6. And North Melbourne still on the bottom of the table, unfortunately. A tough period for Brett Ratton with just the 2 wins from their opening 13 matches. Tomorrow, of course, the Kings' birthday clash. Collingwood and Melbourne from the MCG. So much to look forward to with Big Freeze 9 will be on air from 2:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time. The teams have come out with Michael Hibbert coming in for the Demons. Jake Bowie and James Harms is out. Pat Lipinski comes in for his first game of the season for the Magpies. There's no Jordan De Goey, and Olaf Markov was the sub last week. He is out as well. So no Clayton Oliver for the Demons, no Steele Sidebottom and Jordan De Goey for the Magpies. Brodie Grundy and Max Gawn. And Grundy, of course, playing against his former side for the first time. And Simon Goodwin just adding a little bit more extra intent to that game. Melbourne have a funny way of doing this. Ed Langdon, of course, made the comment last year about Collingwood being all duck and no dinner. So Simon Goodwin came out saying that we're looking forward to, I'll try and give you the exact quote in a moment, but we're looking forward to what Brodie can offer in an environment where he feels valued. I'll give you the better quote in just a moment.
Well, it was
get the gist of it.
Yeah, and Max Gawn basically saying, look, he's asked to take the first centre bounce, so he wants to be there when the game gets underway. I saw they played the haunting Collingwood chant out at Casey Fields the other day as a way to try and get their guys ready for the atmosphere. I'm not sure if you can quite replicate the MCG out at Casey, but that's what they did. They had the boom box.
You have to have a laugh sometimes, the lengths that coaches or teams go to try and simulate what it's going to be like at the MCG out at Casey Fields with the Collingwood chant belting around the speakers. I reckon if I was out there training, I'd have a good laugh about it.
On a Wednesday.
It's blowing a gale out there at Casey.
We had that at the Giants post the Richmond loss. Well, no, just because it was so noisy, so therefore 5 speakers lined up and they're playing what boys wanted to play, and I'm just like, great. So we've got these young blokes that are going to play their rubbish music, and I've got to listen to that through the hard work that I'm about to do for 2 hours. Whitfield and Haynes and those boys play rubbish stuff.
So let me try and take 2. Simon Goodwin said, Brodie Grundy is now at a club who really values what he brings to the team. We're certainly going to embrace that. So Max Gawn has already said he's asked for the opening bounce, and he'll probably get that against maybe his good mate Mason Cox or potentially Darcy Cameron. But it will be interesting whether Collingwood target Max Gawn. We saw that the previous week as to whether that's a tactic that other sides look to try and implore to just wrestle the momentum in which Grundy and Gawn are trying to build.
I can't help but feel with that duo that it needs to be the other way around. Max needs to be the big dog because he plays best when it's all on his shoulders, and allow Brodie to be the pinch hitter, cherry on top type, the big body mid that can get around the ground but can win you some taps. Whereas Max is his ability to get back defensively and catch it, but then also to go forward, and those big wheeling arc goals from just outside the paint, they're so valuable.
The other big result today was the Melbourne Storm were 44-point winners over the Cronulla Sharks.
Big day.
So a thumping in the end, 54 points to 10. And the Storm just continue on their way in 3rd position on the NRL table with 8 wins and 5 losses. Of course, there's the Kings' birthday match taking place tomorrow in the NRL. The Canterbury Bulldogs taking on the Parramatta Eels, and that's also available on the ABC Listen app. Just look for the NRL button if you're a fan of that code. It's all there for you, the cricket, the AFL and the NRL. So the playing groups are all back out on the middle, and we're not too far away from the second half getting underway. Essendon leading by 2 points in what's been a low-scoring contest.
It's not a shootout, is it?
Had its fluctuations, hasn't it?
It's certainly not that shootout that I was asking for. You can see both teams are trying to move the ball with speed, but a lack of polish going inside 50 and finishing their work once inside 50 is, it's really lacking.
Yeah, it's been a bit of lack of polish and also a lack of getting the structure right, because I've seen on numerous occasions when Carlton are trying to move the ball forward and move it quick, they haven't had that next target to go to inside 50. So I'd like to see them try and re-engage that defender who's dropping off, whether that be a Ridley Zerk Thatcher usually has the job. He's usually pretty tight, but I think whether it's going to be a Jack Martin or a Jack Silvani who's playing forward on that third tall, trying to re-engage the forward and be an option going inside 50.
They did win the contested possession, Carlton, in that second quarter, 36-18, and they lead in the match 71-59. Bombers by 2 points. Into the second half we go with Corpin Middlemass.
So Draper and De Koning back in the middle. De Koning wins it on the way down. Off the wing comes Durham. Hand pass for Essendon away to Caldwell. Floats a high spiral inside the attacking 50. Knocked away from Wiedemann. Comes down to Nick Martineau. Slick hands to Langford. Handball to Snelling. Short kick. Forward pocket. The mark taken. The captain's got it. Zach Merritt. 5 in from the boundary line. Right forward pocket for the Bombers.
Oh, great start. Slick hands. Love that. They wanted to get everyone involved. And I reckon with a guy this calibre by foot, you nearly put this one straight in the book, Murph. What a great start if he can.
Can swing it across his body on his preferred left peg. And the captain gets the ball rolling for Essendon in the second half. And immediately it's on with a bit of a scrap. And a melee ensues at centre half forward. The Bombers by 8 points. It's their biggest advantage of the night. The Dons have kicked the last 3 either side of half-time. 60 seconds travelled into quarter number 3. Essendon 5-6, Carlton 3-10.
Well, a bit of fire then from the Bombers. I didn't mind it. Zach Merritt has obviously had the job with Ed Curnow trailing him all day, and he's gone to a little half-forward flank and found himself a bit of space. And then Jakey Stringer's giving Ed Curnow one on the way through as well. I think it was Mason Redmond who earlier came off the interchange and let Ed Curnow know all about it. So it's certainly been highlighted by the coach, I would have thought, in Brad Scott, that, right, if they're going to come after our skipper, we're coming out after him. So I like seeing that from the Bombers. They're certainly all in it together.
Opening goal the way of the Bombers through Zach Merritt back in the middle of the ground. Draper up against De Koning. Draper wins down the tap for the Bombers, looking for Stringer. Hand pass to Perkins, links up with Caldwell. Hand pass out to Sammy Durham on the southern wing, inside 50, right the target. Young spoils it down, spills out the way of Merritt and Sard. Wiedering tries to wrestle it away. It's a chance for the Blues through Mitch McGovern. Hand pass under enormous pressure, Wiedering. Caldwell laid the tackle. And the umpire will ball it up 75 metres out from the Bombers' goal.
Essendon by 8. De Koning wins it down for Carlton. Doherty and Cripps both go in for the same footy. Doherty got it. Under pressure, hand pass away as a turnover. Stringer kicks goalward, misses near side. And quickly score off the turnover, a behind for Stringer. There's a couple of them tonight. Essendon by 9 points. This is now a game high. Equal game high either way. So Carlton led by 9 time on second term. We're now 3 minutes into the third, and Essendon lead it by 9, having kicked the last 3 goals.
McGovern brings the Blues back into play. Long towards Paddy Cripps, up with one arm, can't take the mark. Durham won it, breaks clear, chips it inside 50, sliding in. Chincotta couldn't take the mark. Stringer fends off Walsh, swings onto his left. Vacant goal mouth, he goes for it, but it's out to the right. Not quite fully purchased and online. And it rolls out up against the right behind post in front of Boyd for a boundary throw in.
That's smart coaching, I reckon, from Brad Scott, putting Zach Merritt to a half-forward flank and then sort of giving Ed Curnow the role inside mid, but then he goes to try and play on him around stoppages. So Zach Merritt's coming up around stoppages and going to free up one of his teammates, isn't he?
Young's doing the ruck against Peter Wright, who taps it down to Stringer. Couldn't take it cleanly first time. Bounced off Sard. Stringer has another go at it. Tries to break out of the tackle. Hand pass to Caldwell. Can't spin past Sard. Great tackle. Spills the way of Guelphy. Hand pass to Nick Martin. Trying to get on his left. He slips over. Free kick trip.
It's coming back to Guelphy, is it?
It is.
Cool.
So Matt Guelphy is going to end up with a shot on goal. Slightly left of centre.
Drag down.
It's a drag down tackle, yeah.
This is what I was talking about earlier with the players that are milking it a little bit. So he's just throwing himself forward there, and it makes it look way more dangerous than it actually is.
Yeah, there's nothing dangerous about it. I think it was more just a linger of the holding, wasn't it? But so maybe it was good awareness from Guelphy just to not take possession of the football once he felt contact.
A goal in every game he's played. Matt Guelphy having missed 8 with a hamstring injury to extend the Bombers' lead. From pretty much directly in front, he sails it straight through the middle. Essendon with 2 quick goals to start the third quarter, and they lead by 15 points. 6-7-43 to the Blues, 3-10-28. 4 minutes gone, third term on ABC Sport.
Just having another look at it, I feel like Guelphy's just felt the tackle and he's just gone and thrown himself forward there. I disagree with that free kick against who was it that gave it away?
Boyd.
Boyd. Yeah, I disagree. I feel like Guelphy's just gone and dove forward and made it look way worse than what it is, and the umpires completely bought the whole lot of it.
India 5 for 201. About halfway through the morning session on day 5, the target 4-4-4. Here it's Essendon by 15 points. They've kicked the last 4 of the game. Draper in the middle wins the hit out down to Stringer. Set upon as soon as he got it. Tackle dispossessed. Another free for a lingering tackle. Advantage applied. Perkins to Guelphy. Gives away the free himself, Guelphy, in the tangle in the marking contest. The Bombers have to get the footy back. Sard goes short to Walsh. Hand pass to Ed Curnow, handball to Sard. Sweeping hand pass to Walsh. He gives it out wide to Chincotta. Shakes the would-be tackle from Stringer. Sends Carlton inside 50. Ridley went the spoiler, then completes the mark. Touched it on the way through. And then ends up hanging onto the footy. He swings it wide to half-back, and Guelphy's got it again.
He's a good player, Jordan Ridley, isn't he? So good to watch as an intercepting half-back.
Guelphy runs the boundary line as Chincotta took a step back, allowed him to drive it up towards Wiedemann. Couldn't take the mark. Hobbs front and centre, hand pass out to Zach Merritt. Runs his full measure. He's got Peter Wright out the back. He marks in the right forward pocket. Thinks about centering it to Langford and now decides he'll have the shot. He's only had the 3 disposals for 2 goals. Chance to make it 4 disposals for 3 goals. It's a good day at the office on return. Only about 5 metres out, has to work his way through it, steps out, snaps it on his left, and Peter Wright has 3 on return. And the Bombers all of a sudden skip out by 21 points. 3 goals in the opening 7 minutes of the third term to throw everything they've got at the Blues. 7-7-49 to Carlton 3-10-28. On Grandstand AFL, you and Mark Murphy and Brett Delidio.
A couple of things, Lids, I've enjoyed from Essendon the start of his third quarters. Jake Stringer involved in the centre square bounce. He's been really influential around the contest so far this quarter. And then we already spoke about Zach Merritt playing off the hard-forward flank. And it's just changed the matchups. And it's caused Jordan Boyd, or it's caused Adam Sard or a Brody Kemp to try and play on Zach Merritt. He's just too smart and too fit and too good a player to be kept out for too long. And he's already kicked the 1 goal and then direct assist then to Peter Wright.
They've also got a job to try and provide some run, so you can't give up at all to defend Zach Merritt.
Bombers 5 clearances, 3 centre bounce clearances, 6 inside 50s to zip to start this quarter. 1 back the other way for the Blues. DeConey into centre half forward. Ed Curnow, no mark. Falls down to the Dons. Redmond hand pass back into dispute. Stringer tracking it. Now lays a tackle on Cripps. Got it out for Carlton. Walsh on the wing. Gives it by hand to Kennedy. Kicks all the way to the middle of the G for Akers. Akers a long kick inside the forward arc. Punched away by Zirk Thatcher. Left his man to lay the 1%er. Punches it out to half-back. Nick Martin collects. Hand pass to Durham. Sweeping hand pass to Perkins. Shoots it inboard to Nick Martin. The Bombers by hand up over halfway. Hobbs almost fell over. Crunched by Sardin from the side, taken high. The Dons want to take the advantage. It'll come back. And the second-year Bomber, Ben Hobbs, is going to get it. The only teenager in their team tonight, outer edge of the centre square. Essendon by 21. They got a bit of pep in their step here, the Bombers. 9 gone, third term.
Hobbs sends it long and high inside 50. Phillips sets himself to Koning, shoved him out of the way. Straight in the middle of the back. It's unravelling for Carlton.
Certainly is. Clinchy. It was just a long high ball and they had 2 to Phillips there, and they still managed to just push him out of the way. Didn't really need it. It was a bit like Zirk Thatcher at the other end, wasn't it? Didn't need to really do it because the kick wasn't great. Sometimes when you're under the pump, you do silly things.
As Mark Murphy told us, Andrew Phillips' goal kicking approach, kicking as hard as long as he can. From directly in front, 35 metres out, he got underneath it, but it's straight and that's all that matters. Arms outstretched as he celebrates. And the Bombers are the opening 4 goals of the third term to skip out to a 27-point advantage. 7 inside 50s to 1. It's one-way traffic. 8-7-55 to Carlton 3-10-28. 9 minutes gone, third term. and Blues fans are looking despondent in their chairs.
No, and they should, because the last inside 50 sort of sums up the way in which Carlton have been playing. They get the ball and bang it in and hope for the best, and rather than try and use the lead-up player or work it around or get a handball received and then hit a target on the lead, it's again just kick it long and hope for the best. Whereas conversely, Essendon get the ball, run and gun, handball chain, get it into their key targets and get a free kick as a result.
Became the first player traded between the two clubs in 16 years when he left Carlton to join the Bombers 4 years ago. Back in the middle of the ground, a heavy tackle from Cripps as he rips the Essendon player to the ground in Durham, who came in off the wing. Ian Cohen on the boundary. Koza.
Yeah, the news gets worse if you're a Blues fan. Jack Silvani can hardly move. He's the deepest forward for the Blues, but he is absolutely hobbling at the moment.
Thanks, Koza. Had that hip complaint last week. Subbed out, but holds his place in the team with Pitternet taking another week. The Bombers win it from the stoppage again. Hind to Durham. Long kick into the forward pocket. Young flies for it. No mark. Falls down to Langford. Hands it off to Wright. Kick smothered. Ricochets to Walsh. He's tackled by Wright. As soon as he grabbed it, the tackle lingered. We're doing that a bit tonight. Both teams and giving away free kicks in a similar fashion. Walsh back pocket for the Blues.
If that's the case with Jack Silvani and he's on one leg, just make the change and change it up. The game's getting away for you at the moment if you're Carlton. So get him off if he's injured and get Paddy down to the game.
Kick straight down the middle from Doherty. Was looking for Kennedy. Brought it down. Owies is onto it. Swings onto his right. Looks inside 50. Puts it on Harry Mackay's head. Zerk Thatcher had worked up. Spoils it down. Heppel with a hand pass to Hind. The Bombers out of defence with a kick to right half back, where Menzies takes the mark. He looks to come back inboard on the 45 on the half volley to Snelling. He gets the hand pass back to Menzies. Around the boundary line to McGrath. Tucks the footy under his arm and takes a bounce. Sends it up to Phillips. Out number 3 on 1. He slaps it down the way of McGovern. He can't break away from Langford. Now the umpire will ball it up at right half forward for the Bombers. They lead by 27 points.
I'm not sure how you can miss Harry Mackay by that much. He's a big unit. Well, you've got to be able to put it in front of him.
Taccone wins the hit out, ends up with Hobbs though. Tumbles a kick inside 50, unkind bounce for Wiedemann. McGovern for the Blues. Hand pass away to Doherty under pressure at halfback. Gives it to Walsh, a fumble. Merritt's coming to get him. Big heavy tackle, ball comes out. Ump says now Walsh held without it.
Just been fierce in the ball, haven't they? Essendon, Jakey Stringer certainly led the way in this third quarter, and Zach Merritt there, hard at the ball. Langford, Stringer, giving away a free kick, but certainly made him earn it.
Essendon have kicked the last 6 goals in the game, by the way. They lead by 27 points, 12 gone, third term. Walsh shares it with Doherty and then kicks long to Taccone. Marks in front of the interchange. Hand pass short side away to Akers. Sweeping hand pass to Silvani. 70 out, kicks inboard. Owies and Charlie Curnow left it for one another. They both miss it. The ball tumbles inside 50. Hind trying to knock it away. Charlie Curnow goes back to win it. Tackled superbly by Hind. Ball comes out. Kennedy for the Blues. Hand pass back into dispute and a pack forms. Ump lets them roll. Ed Curnow's kick ends up with McGrath and he just backs it out of the defensive arc.
He finds Zach Merritt at right half back, who's worked up from half forward. Marks in front of Sam Doherty. Bombers by 27 points. 4 goals, 1-0 so far.
50.
In this third quarter, it'll be 50.
If you're Charlie Curnow, surely you just climb all over Matt Owies. You say, this is my footy and I'm going to go get it.
It's the tale of what's happening at the moment, isn't it? Look hesitant.
Merritt kicks it out in front of Peter Wright, who's got it again. Yeah. What contrasting deliveries inside 50. And Peter Wright shooting for his 4th goal from just his 5th disposal. Slightly out to the left. He'll kick from about 45 metres out.
Well, I think you called it before. They're unravelling at the moment, the Blues. And when things aren't going right, they just compounds, doesn't it? Like that miss inside forward 50, that's crucial for your big forward to be able to take.
It wasn't a miss. It was it hit the target, but they didn't go for it.
Miss in terms of a shot on goal.
Yeah.
Peter Wright shooting for his 4th goal to add more pain. And it's the 5th goal on the trot for the Bombers. And aren't they enjoying every moment of this? 33 points the good of the Blues. 9-7-61 to Carlton 3-10-28. All of a sudden it's 5 goals in 14 minutes against their arch rivals, who all of a sudden have their heads in their hands. Peter Wright with his 4th goal of the night.
Yeah, it is unravelling, isn't it, at the moment, Lids? And I think you showcased that by the last passage of play where you have Jack Silvani, who it was a great kick inside 50 to one of Matty Owies or Charlie Curnow, and two players stand there and look at it, and the ball just travels over the back, and you could just feel the collective groan around the MCG of every Carlton fan going, how are we going at the moment?
Yeah.
It just looks really tough work playing football if you're wearing a navy blue jumper at the moment.
Amazing run in this third quarter. 5 goals in 14 minutes, all Essendon's way. As Nick Martin out of the middle, hand pass to Hobbs, another break for the Dons, gives it to Caldwell, handball to Guelphy, gets it back to Caldwell, threads a hand pass to Menzie, another goal coming up. Menzie hooks it through, straight out of a centre bounce, and an offensive explosion for Essendon. Both jets on, and the Bombers are powering away from Carlton. 39 points their lead. 15 played in the third term, 10-7-67. Carlton 3-10-28. Have not scored in this quarter, which is almost 16 minutes old. Keep in mind the Dons also kicked the last 2 goals of the second term, so they've now kicked the last 8 in the game.
And you know what the problem is with that? I mean, as bad as that looks from us sitting up here in the box and they waltz their way out of a centre bounce, is that everyone's thinking about themselves now. Like, I'm not going to roll forward and put pressure on here. I'm not going to be the guy who's brave and come and hit a body and stop and halt this. Everyone else is like, no, my man won't get it, so I'm going to lock down on him. You know, then that's when everything starts to unravel, and we're seeing it right before our eyes right now. Someone's got to take charge.
You just feel that inside nearly every Carlton player is like, oh no, not again.
Yep.
Walsh, Kennedy, Chera in the middle for the Blues as Draper slaps it forward. Knocked on by Snelling. Clear the tap from Langford. Caldwell kicks inside 50 over the head of Peter Ryan. Spills away Wiedering. He hacks it towards the defensive 50. Sarr tries to knock it forward. He gathers to the Blues. Hand pass to Motlop. He's able to fend off Hine. Swings onto his right-hand side. Kicks up the wing. McGrath juggles the mark. Touch, says the umpire. Play on's the call. Hand passes inboard to Hobbs. He kicks to Wiedemann, who takes the mark. In front of Kemp, between wing and half forward on the members' side. He's got Laverty free in his 100th game. He marks it right half forward. Kicks towards Peter Wright. He's a beacon as he comes out of marks. In the right forward pocket with Jack Silvani on one leg trailing him.
Well, there's a difference, isn't it? You're watching one at one end, and then you got your similar sort of target at the other end, and he's clunking him and kicking purely at the moment in his first game back.
Well, it's the heat coming inside 50 as well. The heat's been pretty, it's been very poor this quarter from Carlton. Just the disposals are easy to hit targets when you're not under that pressure and heat like Essendon are doing to Carlton on their inside 50s.
First game of 2023 for 5 goals for Peter Wright. He hangs it out to the left. It's not going to be a goal, and it's marked by Jacob Wiedering up against the right behind post. 17 minutes gone, third term. Bombers leading by 39.
Feel like the boos are getting louder. Facade too, as the Carlton fans are losing their voice. As a short kick to Doherty. Doherty chips the centre half back to Chera. Hand pass back to Sard. Lifts a handball over right to Doherty. Hand pass out wide to Silvani. Short kick to the wing, and Motlop's got it. Hand pass back to Silvani in front of the benches. Kicks off his left peg. Down to Charlie Curnow. Draper has a run at it. Spoils it away. Down to Caldwell. Cripps tackles him. Ball comes out. Draper for the Dons to Wiedemann to Durham. Here go Essendon again. Clean set of Hills through the middles. Nick Martin. Hand pass to Menzie. Handball out in front of Durham. Fumbles. Keeps knocking it forward. Loose footy. Centre half forward for the Dons. Nick Martin paddles it out, but straight to the Blues. And Kennedy's there. Hand pass away to Chincotta to Chera. Sweeping hand pass to the back flank for Akers.
As the Blues work it forward to De Koning, who takes the mark. Another wicket in the cricket. We'll go around the grounds with Brett Delidio. What's the score?
6 for 2-1-2. Ajika Rahane out 46.
Not sure who's going to last longer at this stage, India or
Good on
Carlton.
the Richie Benno. I did 6 for 2-1-2.
Akers has kicked towards half forward. Charlie Curnow had a wrestle, couldn't take the mark. Spills to Motlop. De Koning receives the hand pass and chips it to Doherty. 55 metres out from home. Punt road end. He tries to put it into the path of Jack Martin. He can't take the mark. A sliding in front is Dyson Heppel, the former Bombers captain, getting plenty of encouragement for that spoil as it goes out of play in the left forward pocket. Essendon leading by 39 points. 19 minutes gone, third term. It's 6 goals to none. As Heppel's just put on a bit of a jumper punch there as the ball's thrown back into Walsh.
Phillips wins the hit out for Essendon. Nick Martin at the coalface wins it again. Swings a kick away, but straight to Charlie Curnow. And he takes the mark, centre half forward for the Blues.
It's almost the only way they're going to get inside 50 mark at the moment. Carlton by an Essendon kick.
Charlie's had 6 score involvements, 4 of them off his own boot. He's kicked 4 behinds.
He's due, you'd say then, Paul.
The Coleman medal leader, who's now got a bit of company up top. So Jeremy Cameron also on 38, and Taylor Walker on the back of his 10 yesterday join him. Charlie Curnow to pull clear. It's good. A much needed one in the context of the game. The Blues stop the bleeding. It ends a run of 8 consecutive Essendon goals. Carlton 4-10-34, Essendon 10-7-67. The Dons by 33, time on third term.
Yeah, you're right, Murph. It's the only time they've looked likely, but it's not exactly what I think the Bombers would like to be doing in terms of clearing that ball out of their defensive 50. You can see Jordan Ridley say, "Oh, you're kidding me. I had him goal side of him. He couldn't get it any other way other than a quick hack little kick out and lands in his lap." But
inevitably, you're always going to have a forward who's dropping off the back of that stoppage. So if you can't get a full clearance onto it, you're almost going to try and work it out by handball chain, or just slap it as hard as you can along the ground, try and cause hazard balls out there. But tough watch at the moment.
So the first Carlton goal since the 20-minute mark of the second quarter. Can one become two? Back in the middle of the ground. Perkins wrestling with Kennedy for the footy. Hand pass forward, or in fact defensively from Sard. Found to Koning, could have been bumped as he got the kick away high. Spills the way of Redmond, hand pass to Caldwell. Works it to Heppel, back edge of the centre square. Kicks it out in front of Hine, who runs onto its southern side of the ground. He now kicks out in front of Peter Wright. The foot race on with Young, and Young spoils it out of play. And a boundary thrown at left half forward for the Bombers. And Cohen on the boundary.
It's fair to say Michael Voss has become more animated in this term, and understandably so. He was just yelling at Paddy Dow, who's now warming up, so expect the Blues to make the change.
Thanks, Koza. Thrown back in. Phillips and de Koning. Phillips wins down the tap for the Bombers. Cripps is front and centre. Hand pass back to Cottrell. Feeds the hand pass to Kennedy and back to Cripps. The Carlton captain at right half back. Sends it up towards Charlie Curnow. He flies with one hand against Ridley. Heppel at the back gathers. Hand pass to Laverty. Shovels a hand pass back to Redmond at centre half back. Kick to Merritt, not 15. Back to Redmond. Hand pass to Hobbs. Back to Redmond once more. Gets to centre half forward. Kicks to the pocket. Will it get to Ryan? It does! Clears Jack Silvani's fingertips. Mason Redmond electric off half-back. And Jack Silvani trying to get just the smallest finger on it, couldn't get it. And Peter Wright with another opportunity for his fifth.
Yeah, great ball use by the Bombers. Just that's a perfect play. You set up with your witches hats almost at training, isn't it? You win the ball back off turnover in your D50, and then handball chain, run, cause havoc, get one at the back to your best key forward and lace him out.
45-degree angle, 30 metres out. Peter Wright has 5 on return for the Bombers in his first game of 2023. Having suffered a shoulder injury during the pre-season, no VFL, straight back to the big time. King's Birthday Eve footy. And the Bombers are out by 39 points as their spearhead is playing a pivotal role. 11-7-73 to the Blues, 4-10-34. 23 minutes gone, third term on ABC Sport. That's 7 goals to 1 in this third term.
It's impressive watching a half-back, full confidence, bursting forward of the footy, being able to... I love that his teammates rewarded him for running and taking the game on. It was that first initial tackle. If he gets caught up there, that whole play doesn't unfold. But because he's able to get away, back his speed, and then his teammates just back him in. Beautiful kick too. That was a 50-60 metre pass. Just above the deck.
They've kicked 7 goals in the quarter, Essendon, against a team in the Blues who haven't kicked over 60 points in the last 5 weeks. Out of the middle, Chera. Hand pass away to Walsh. He kicks inside 50 for Carlton. Loose footy, gets to Owies on the bounce. Hand pass away to Doherty. Floats the ball into the pocket. In the end, Zerk Thatcher in front of Mackay kills it out of play. 39 points, Essendon's lead, an equal game high. They've kicked 9 of the last 10 goals. After Carlton led the match by 9 points, time on in the second. We're now 24 minutes into the third, a stunning turnaround in the game. All Essendon in the third from the boundary throw-in. Spills down in front of Motlop. Perkins says, come here, as he late for tackle. Got it away to Cripps. He's held up just inside the boundary. Ball up left forward pocket for the Blues. Punt road end of the ground. Dons by 39.
Tossed up in the air, Phillips into Koenig. Phillips taps it down straight to Cripps. Out past to Walsh, to Akers, back to Walsh. Swings onto his right. Can he work it back from right to left? Harry Mackay underneath it. Zerk Thatcher spoils it down. Straight to Laverty. His kick works in the end. It was almost a little bit blazing away without looking, and Hobbs in front takes the mark. 40 metres out from his defensive goal. Hand pass boundary side to Hine. He sends it up the wing. No one there for the Bombers. Taking the mark, Kemp flying in front of Wiedemann to mark for the Blues.
And so Kemp can kick inside the forward arc. Mackay got to it, bounces through his hands and out the back to Phillips of the Bombers. Hand pass to Redmond, handball to Hine, kicks across the goal face and Ridley marks.
7 for
213. Shuttle to course. Reviewing it.
I think Murph's in front of you, Lids, in his cricket description at the moment.
This Ridley goes to half back. Phillips knocks it down.
Not hard to beat.
The Cottrell, hand pass back inboard, and there's a pack which forms, and umpire Donlan says, I'll have it. Ball up between wing and half forward for the Blues.
Ball just penetrated the surface, didn't it? Day 5 of the test at the Oval.
Someone wants a gig in the ABC box, don't they?
I don't mind it.
LBW's a dismissal. There's a review, though, from Takor, so we'll keep you up to date from the stoppage. Walsh to Sard, hand pass away to Kemp. Gives it to Chincotta all by hand. Blues still in the centre square, though. Handball to Chera. Closes to centre half forward. Kicks inside. Always marks.
There you go.
Leaping up and a mark inside 50 for the Blues. And few and far between tonight.
No, good composure there by Adam Chera, who we spoke about him prior to the game, and he's had another terrific night for Carlton. Just that ability to just weigh up the situation and put it into a teammate's space. And Matty O is obviously not the tallest bloke, but sitting there in a bunch of space, just put it to his advantage. And there's another inside 50 mark, which has been really hard to come by for a Carlton forward at the moment.
Shuttle Takua out for a duck. 5th ball, LBW Lions, 7 for 213. India back at the G. Matt Owes gets one back for Carlton. They're playing way uphill, the Blues. Essendon's lead cut to 33. Carlton 5-10-40. Essendon 11-7-73 on the back of this dominant third term. 27 gone third quarter. Mark Murphy, Brett Delidio.
It's really important now that the Blues don't just pack it up, Murph. I think, they've kicked that goal, and now they've got to try and get another one before three-quarter time. They saw a little bit of rah-rah from the forwards, and let's get him together. Let's see whether we can create something.
Yeah.
But if the Bombers go down now and waltz out of this centre bounce and kick another goal, you can almost just feel this wind go straight
that's
out
where
of the
it
sails.
comes back to your leadership. Righto, boys, let's kick the next one here. We're within 27 points. You never know what can happen in the last quarter, so you just don't want to see this centre clearance by Essendon if you're a Carlton.
Draper wins down the tap. Almost a chance for Caldwell. Got it out to Draper. The mullet flowing. Kicks off the outside of the boot. Inside 50. Boyd marks. Racing back against the flight. He's able to mark for the Blues and springboard them out to halfback. Cottrell takes the mark. Hand pass over the top to Walsh. Links up with Chincotta. Southern side of the ground. I'm not sure Cottrell was the intended target. They'll take it. He moves it forward to Ed Curnow. Mark 60 from home. Where's brother Charlie? Sends it in that direction. He's caught behind. Wrestling against Laverty. Redmond came through for the Bombers. Hand pass to Caldwell. Sweeping hand pass out to Menzie. Doesn't have much down the members wing. Puts it out in front of Langford. He's caught behind. Mitch McGovern marks. Keeps running for the Blues. Hand pass to Boyd. Feigns the hand pass past Menzie. Good centering kick. And finds Matt Kennedy. Just inside 50 out to the left.
Well, well done, Mitch McGovern. One to be playing in front and cut off that exit kick. But I was a bit worried about the key forwards for Carlton, and they were all just standing still in the middle of the ground. They did nothing.
Can they make it back-to-back goals? Matt Kennedy veers out to the right. Shanks it. Harry Mackay's underneath. He tries to make it work. Can't take the mark. Jack Martin bounces off Tom de Koning. Hand pass to Owie. He's trying to screw it back. It's out on the full. That tells a bit of a tale of the tape. Bombers by 33 points.
So the last 3 minutes, Murph, a bit more caution to the wind, moving the footy. Why is it taken until they're 39 points behind before we've seen a bit more of that?
You're right, the last 2 or 3 minutes, starting to actually have a go at those kicks inside and play with a bit of dash and a bit of flair, and the forwards are getting looks as a result.
Amazing. 39 down, and we're starting to see the best of Carlton offensively as the hurried kick forward from Perkins down the wing. It's knocked away by Sard and out of play. So from Sard by Menzie in a boundary throw-in. Southern wing, Essendon kicking 8 goals in a row in the game either side of half-time. From that point on, Carlton have kicked 2 of the last 3.
I still can't understand how Paddy Dow's not been injected into that midfield to get some sort of pace and run going.
Boundary throw-in. De Koning grabs it out of the ruck. Hand pass out in front of Walsh. He kicks it down the wing. One bounce out of play, so a throw-in on that Southern wing. Essendon by 33 points. Completely dominated this third quarter to break the game open. We had 6 lead changes in a low-scoring first half in which Essendon led by 2 at half-time. They lead by 33 at the half-hour mark of the third quarter here.
Throwing back in. Draper works down to the front. Against Taconi, knocks it down. Guelphy and Kennedy wrestling. And the umpire will throw it up. On the SMS, Tom's got an idea. Just a thought, guys. The King's Birthday Eve clash between Carlton and Essendon should be rebranded as the Big Blue. Raise money for MND. 2 big Melbourne clubs with rivalry in the spotlight and under the pump. What do you think in terms of, is there a way in which they can support the big freeze on King's Birthday Eve?
I like the standalone one. I think every club certainly gets behind it, don't they? And they all wear their beanies and certainly support the cause. I think the standalone day with the slide's really good, but I like the idea of having this big rivalry game on the eve of the big King's Birthday weekend.
So thanks, Tom, for your SMS, 0437 774 774. Langford in the back pocket for the Bombers, sends it up towards Stringer. Can't take the mark. Nick Martin's taken over the boundary line by Matt Kennedy in a boundary throw-in. And Vince is listening to us from North England while navigating the Lancaster Canal in a narrow boat at 5 kilometres. Could not be more relaxed. Great call. I'm not sure I'd be as relaxed in your scenario, Vince, so hopefully we're providing good company.
Draper wins the hit out. Pack forms at his feet. Umpire circles and says, I'll have it. Ball up between wing and half forward for the Blues.
Normally pretty narrow, those canals.
Yeah, that's not my jam. I'm more a land mammal. Up it goes. Again at half forward for the Blues. Walsh grabs it, kicks it inside 50. A little nudge on Mackay, and that'll do us. Zerk Thatcher ends up with a footy right on the horn to signal the end of the third quarter. And it's Essendon by 33. What a quarter from the Dons. They kicked 7 goals to 2. They kicked 8 in a row at one stage either side of half-time, which included the first 6 inside 16 minutes to start quarter number 3. The Bombers 11-7-73. Carlton 5-10-40. 3-quarter time at the G. What looks like a season which was fast slipping out of hand for the Blues, but the Bombers are going to take it out of their control tonight with a handy 33-point lead at 3-quarter time. Peter Wright, what a return. 5 goals in his first 3 quarters of footy for the new season. Singles for Langford, Merritt, Snelling, Phillips, Guelphy and Menzies. While for Carlton, 1 each for Mackay, Martin, Charlie Kernache, Cotter and Owies.
And earlier today in the AFL, GWS defeated North Melbourne by 28 points. The Melbourne Storm in the NRL, 54 points, defeated Cronulla to 10. And the World Test Championship final, day 5. Coverage right now on the ABC Listen app. Just look for the cricket button. And, of course, coverage after the footy on ABC Sport Digital if it's still going. India 7 for 218 with Australia just needing 3 wickets for victory. Great to have your company on this Sunday night, King's Birthday Eve, on Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio, ABC Sport Digital, and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
This month in the UK, the Men's Ashes and the World Test Championship are on. Overnight our time.
Huge! Over the boundary, whack!
On ABC Radio Sydney, we'll keep you up to date with what's happening. Or look for the pop-up cricket channel on the ABC Listen app to hear Jim Maxwell and the BBC commentary team call every ball live and ad-free.
What about that?
Download the ABC Listen app and look for the red cricket ball button or click the Sport Audio tab on the ABC Sport website.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Slick hands to Langford. Handball to Snelling. Short kick. Forward pocket. The mark taken. The captain's got it. Zach Merritt. 5 in from the boundary line. Right forward pocket for the Bombers. Can swing it across his body on his preferred left peg. And the captain gets the ball rolling for Essendon in the second half. And immediately it's on with a bit of a scrap.
Merritt kicks it out in front of Peter Wright, who's got it again. Peter Wright shooting for his 4th goal to add more pain. And it's the 5th goal on the trot for the Bombers. And aren't they enjoying every moment of this?
As Nick Martin out of the middle, hand pass to Hobbs, another break for the Dons, gives it to Caldwell, handball to Guelphy, gets it back to Caldwell, threads a hand pass to Menzie, another goal coming up. Menzie hooks it through, straight out of the centre bounce, and an offensive explosion for Essendon. Phillips swings the hit out for Essendon, Nick Martin at the coalface wins it again, swings a kick away, but straight to Charlie Curnow. The Coleman medal leader, who's now got a bit of company up top, so Jeremy Cameron also on 38 and Taylor Walker. Charlie Curnow to pull clear. It's good. A much needed one in the context of the game.
Kick to Merritt on 15, back to Redmond. Hand pass to Hobbs, back to Redmond once more. Gets to centre half forward, kicks to the pocket. Will it get to right? It does! Clears Jack Silvani's fingertips. 45-degree angle, 30 metres out. Peter Wright has 5. On return for the Bombers.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
An electric third term if you're a Bombers fan. 7 goals to 2 as Essendon opened up a 33-point advantage, 11-7-73 to the Blues, 5-10-40. Matt Clinch and Corbin Middlemass calling all the action. Ian Cohen down the boundary. The thoughts of your experts, Brett Delidio and Mark Murphy.
Yeah, they put the game to bed, didn't they, Murph? The Bombers there. I felt like it was Jake Stringer, Jai Caldwell in the middle in the start of that third quarter. Jakey Stringer just barged his way through a couple of times, got the 3 clearances. Caldwell had the 10 touches. Nick Martin had 4 clearances as well and 7 disposals. And then they had the big boy up front that was just finishing the great work. Very easy, though, to get on the end of it when you're kicking, your half-backs or your mids are kicking without any frontal pressure coming at them. You know, they've got a clear kicking lane, put it out in front of him, and he's got a wingspan 3 or 4 metres wide. It makes it, it's a great target, but, I mean, you've still got to get in that area, but put some pressure on the footy, the baggers, and that's where you're calling for Paddy Dow. Get some speed, some energy into on their on-ball brigade and see whether he can ignite a little bit, because the game's just about dead.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't like to go through the tape if I was a Carlton player in that third quarter. They were beating around the clearances, but then the Mason Redmond play where he had, I think it was 3 disposals in the one play. There would have been 3 or 4 Carlton players in amongst that who didn't put it on a bumper and stop his run. He just was allowed to handball the ball, run on, impact the next play, run on again, impact the next play, and then get the ball inside 50 to Peter Wright and put it lace out. If you're a red-hot side in the AFL at the moment, you don't allow those sort of plays to occur, and that's just been too many times today where Essendon have been able to handball chain their way through Carlton on way too many occasions.
Well, it's not just off half back, but it's out of the centre bounce as well, and that was borderline witch's hat sort of stuff, wasn't it? It was your feel-good captain's run play just all the way out to Menzie's snap-on goal. That was, it just shows where, and I think I spoke about it in that quarter, was that I'm protecting my space here and my spot in this side for next week. I'm not coming off and going to try and help my teammate here, and you got some real problems when that's the case.
Yeah, and it looked like the last 4 or 5 minutes the message came out to try and use the ball more through the corridor and take the game on a little bit more, and they looked a lot better, Carlton, when they decided to actually try and run and create and play with a bit more risk.
Ian Cohen on the boundary.
Yeah, Paddy Dow has gone in. I believe Jack Martin might be coming out of the game for the Blues. He hasn't yet gone to the back row, though, so we'll wait and see.
Just touching on those tackles, 27 for the Blues to 52 for the Bombers. Centre bounce clearances in that third quarter, 7-2, and the clearances 13-6. Don't tell me Carlton's a good clearance side, because they were taken to the cleaners. Final term underway. Draper wins down the tap, follows it up, trying to charge forward. The footy's still in front of him. It's somehow pinballed offside. Eventually ricochets the way of Akers at left half back. Sends Carlton up towards half forward. Around the southern wing, Mackay takes the mark. Feeds the half pass boundary side to Motlop. He chips a kick to Charlie Curnow, barely 15. He marks 55 metres out from goal. Does he set fly? He dribbles it inside 50. Brother Ed Curnow picks it up, centre and kick to Sard. He marks right on 50 and immediately points to the big sticks.
Well, I know it does go downhill here, and it should be relatively easy kick for Sard. He's got a fair leg on him, but geez, it was when your 2 key forwards are getting it outside 50, it's a couple of concerns there, Murph, I would have thought.
A little bit. Yeah, and I reckon running through the mark might be a 50 as well if that umpire wants to check the rules.
Adam Sard Veers out to the left, sets flight from 60. It's a good effort. Can he carry the line? No! But De Koning takes the mark. Only about 2 or 3 metres out, which with Draper
Push.
and Zerkatcher there, it's a push.
It is not going Carlton's way tonight.
And Sam Draper gets the free kick up against the left goal post.
Mitchell Starks dismissed Umesh Yadav, caught behind. That's 8 down India. Australia 2 wickets away from being the best test team in the world as the kick from Draper goes out to half back and a mark for Sam Durham. Goes short to Redmond. Redmond short to Nick Martin. They reviewed that, but it definitely came off the glove. So caught Carey, bowled Stark, Umesh Yadav out for 1, 8 for 220. What's meant to be 10 minutes before lunch on the 5th day. You can hear it on the ABC Listen app. Look out for the red cricket ball. Nick Martin heads down the wing, a turnover. Cottrell, fast hands to Saad, to Chincotta. Hand pass to high half forward for Cripps. Gives it to Doherty, kicks to half forward, and Harry Mackay leads up and marks. Right half forward, just inside the 50.
Good play, good football, just quick hands. Moving the ball forward, which I liked, rather than reverting the handballs going back, and just allowed players to run forward. And great decision and great use of the ball by Sam Doherty inside 50 to Harry Mackay.
Just repeating what Ian Cullen told us, Jack Martin out of the game, technical sub, 8 disposals and a goal. Paddy Dow in. Harry Mackay on the drop punt, won't have the trip, and Sam Draper just whacks it through. Rush behind, Essendon by 32, start of the final term.
They're just not getting the same looks, are they, inside that 30 to 40 range? It's all wide and long outside 50.
Yeah.
Hard to kick goals from out there.
Just going back to that Tom De Koning free kick was pretty soft. Looking back at that one.
Andy McGrath trying to run his way out of defence for the Bombers. A third bounce. Hand pass to Snelling. Almost lost it. Now he does. Kennedy for the Blues. Quick hand pass over his shoulder to Doherty. To Charlie Curnow. Laser pass looking for Motlop. Bouncing off a teammate. As it... Oh, the hand pass for Tom De Koning. It's too slick. And Laverty's very slow to get to his feet, having been involved in that collision. And Durham at left half back for the Bombers. Hand pass up to Stringer, Members wing. He's got Langford out the back if he can get it over McGovern. He takes the mark on 50. He looks up. Menzies offers a lead. He has to split the middle between 3 Blues. Eventually Boyd left it for Young. He's tackled. He's gone. They all looked at each other. And Jai Menzies was the only one providing any tackle and endeavour.
Just looked lazy, didn't it? Like he put the arms up like it was just going to be an easy breakthrough tackle and then just dropped the football. Just was no real aggression in fighting through the tackle, and it's just too easy.
Oh, yeah, he went to sleep, didn't he? Menzies on his game. Love that as a small forward.
Showing the type of intent that Brad Scott would be loving at the Bombers. Looking for his second. Menzies comes in, and the first of the final term. The Bombers continue on their way. 38 points to the good of the Blues. 12-7-79 to Carlton 5-11-41. 4 minutes gone, final term on ABC Sport.
Well, it goes back to that inside that forward 50 for Carlton. Jack Silvani, he's absolutely hammered that ball at De Koning running into an open goal. Misses it, and then the blink of an eye, it goes the length of the ground. Durham just playing his role off the wing, being able to create the width, gets it to Stringer. Great kick over to Langford. Not sold on the Langford option. I thought Pete Wright over the fat side might have been the one, but Jai Menzies playing his role as a small forward, continuing just to fight it out, even though that he missed the opportunity to take the mark. Plays on and then continues to hold on to his tackle. Great finish.
Dominant third quarter for the Bombers, broke the game open. Now they kick the first of the final term. Stringer went without it in the middle. De Koning, hand pass away to Paddy Dow, who's on the ground. Hand pass to Boyd, kicks to half forward. Silvani's edged in the back by his opposing number. Andy McGrath, the other number 1. And Silvani kicks inside 50, 1 bounce out of play in front of Mackay. Murph, this frustrates Carlton fans, the Paddy Dow thing. There's clearly a knock on him somewhere. What is the perceived weakness or flaw in his game as to why he's not playing?
I think it's been his disposal, but I think they feel that they've got too many blokes who are not one pace through there, but they're set on their midfield mix that they've got, and they just don't feel that he suits it. I don't know.
To Koning down to Silvani, out in front of Cripps. Hand pass away to Kennedy. He snaps goalward, hit the belly of the ball. Out on the full, right forward pocket. And now it becomes right back pocket, or left back pocket for the the Bombers, and Nick Hind is going to get the free kick.
Just going back to that, Corby, I think it's fair enough if you think that he doesn't suit your midfield mix, but it hasn't been working.
Yep.
So surely you change up something.
Hind for the Bombers, long up towards Peter Wright, sets himself to Koning, spoils it down, it rolls out of play. And right half forward for the Blues.
It'd be good to see a race out of the Blues mids. Who would win? I don't think they'd be breaking any records, would they?
Not the way they're going
I reckon
tonight.
you'd still go all right.
On one leg. I reckon Paddy Down would probably win it, actually.
The inside 50's Carlton's way, 47 to 32. There's the kick inside 50 towards Harry Mackay. Clears to the back. Kennedy can't get a boot to it. And Mason Redmond charges through, rushes it through for a minor score.
Is that Paddy Dow on cue? He kicked it inside 50?
Yep, the clearance.
So he's on the board. Bombers by 37 points.
Mason Redmond, the off-contract Bomber from Millicent in South Australia, who's obviously been linked to the Adelaide teams. Millicent, by the way, is 400 kilometres from Adelaide, part of regional South Australia, so not as if he can just wander down the road on his day off to see his folks anyway. Short kick to Zerk Thatcher, who goes long up to the wing, punch down towards Kennedy of the Blues, hand pass to Kemp at half forward, he gives it to Ed Curnow, who's caught holding the ball, free kick Essendon, the two-man tackle, and Laverty's going to get the footy. The Blues, who have averaged 52 points in their last 4 games, are sitting on 41 again at the moment. Essendon lead the game by 37. On the back of a 7-goal third term, kick heads down the wing, Langford first clean touch, hand pass away to McGrath, he gives it to Menzie, high kick down the wing, fly from Caldwell, no hang, comes down to Boyd, hand pass to Akers, handball to Chera. He can kick the Blues inside the forward arc to half forward. Laverty back with the pack. No mark, falls front and centre. Kennedy for the Blues, finds Ed Curnow. They probably want the other Curnow with the footy inside 50. Ed's got it. Left half forward, he's about 25 metres out. Ian Cohen on the boundary.
Yeah, there's a blood rule coming up, but for the Bombers, it looks like that change is being made. Technical change, D'Ambrosio on, and it looks like Sam Draper has made his way to the back row as one of the Bombers makes his way towards us. Laverde, I think that might be, coming off.
Yeah, just got a little bit of blood.
He got that one late in the last quarter, I reckon.
If you want to follow along with the cricket, the ABC Listen app, look out for the red cricket ball to listen live, as you can do right throughout the Ashes. Australia need 2 wickets for victory in the World Test Championship. We're about 5 minutes away from lunch on the 5th and final day. India 8 for 2-2-4, so the Aussies closing in. And that title as the best Test team in world cricket. Curnow moves in, misses. Near side. His brother tonight has kicked, 1 goal 4. And now Ed Curnow, on his return to the team, has got a score of his own. It's also a behind. Essendon by 6 goals, Clenchy, 9 gone, final term.
Jordan Ringley brings the Bombers back into play. Short to Zerk Thatcher, who takes the mark in the right back pocket. Looks up towards half back. Caldwell offers a lead. It lands in front of him. Cottrell appeals for out on the full, but it was above the knee. And a boundary throw in.
Score check, Lids.
9 for 2-2-4.
Oh, KS Barat out caught and bowled line for 23. So 10 and Jack at the crease. The Aussies 1 wicket away from victory, 9 down.
Thrown back in, Phillips and de Koning. Phillips tries to knock it down, then a little topo to Perkins. His hand pass only as far as Chera for the Blues. Hand pass to Walsh, miss Sard. A chance for Kemp, kicks inside 50. Ed Curnow can't take the mark. Redmond slaps it away, then knocks it onto his own advantage. The foot race on with Akers. Akers gets there first, but towed it straight to the boundary. He races after it, lost it in the attempt to try and gather it. Came off Sammy Durham and out on the full. And Blake Akers doesn't even realise yet. That's a Carlton free kick.
Not sure India's going to last to the end of the footy, it must be said, which is probably what we were all hoping for.
As we stand by for the crowd to be posted and what's going to be a big 48 hours. Chincotta, a goal kicker tonight inside 50. Jack Silvani flies, can't take the mark. Kennedy with a hand pass to Walsh, to de Koning. Centering kick, who's there for Carlton? No one. Cottrell caught behind. And Brandon Zerk Thatcher takes the mark for the Bombers and releases Ridley with a hand pass.
Ridley short to half back and Nick Martin takes it. So India 9 down, and that session will be extended, of course, rather than taking lunch. 1 wicket away from the World Test Championship. Hind from one back flank to the other for Heppel. Short kick to Redmond. Left half back for the Dons. Bombers by 36. Short back to Heppel. Short to centre half back for Nick Martin.
This is a beautiful kick.
Massimo D'Ambrosio, the sub for the Dons, just stepping on the ground. We'll get the Koza in a moment as Ridley takes the mark. Back head to the centre square. Kicks out wide for Snelling. Looks inside 50. Wiedemann. No mark. No free. Ump says play on. And Wiedereen is able just to bang it away for Carlton. Down that southern wing. Clever little deft touch from Mackay to the advantage of Cottrell. Hand pass into the path of Ed Curnow. He links up with Cripps. Carlton through the middle of the G, and he's Paddy Dow, who goes long with the number 1. Silvani gets rid of McGrath. Spills the mark at the last moment. Hand pass to Charlie Curnow. He snaps. He's got it. Curnow with a couple. He's up to 40 for the year. And that's about all the Blues have to hang their hat on. The Coleman medal leader. It's Essendon in the game by 30 points, 12 gone final term. The Dons are 12-7-79, Carlton 6-13-49.
Well, Stink's certainly gone out of this one. You can just tell by the reaction of the crowd, but good bit of ball use there by Carlton. Some good hands through the corridor and good run, work rate, and good 1v1 contest win there by Jack Silvani against Ash McGrath. And a good little snap around the corner from Charlie Curnow.
Ash McGrath back from...
Ash McGrath.
He's come back from the Lions.
As soon as I said it, I was like, oh no, I said Ash McGrath.
That's not it. I think the Bombers went to sleep after they thought Whedon was going to clunk that one down and half forward, and then they just got open back up.
Sorry to Andy McGrath.
Australia needing just the 1 wicket for victory in the World Test Championship. Keep an eye and see if Pat Cummins brings himself back on. Here's Chera, gets the clearance of the Blues, kicks inside 50. Charlie Curnow came charging out. Heppel got hands to it, front and centre Motlop. Kick-off line to the left, and it rolls through for a minor score. Just inside the left behind post, but we are going to check if it hit the padding on the way through. If it did, that'll be a boundary throw-in. If not, it'll be a behind. The Blues have got the Gold Coast Suns next Sunday here at the MCG.
That's a big game. We wouldn't have said that a few years ago, but I tell you what.
All of a sudden, having done the Darwin double, having won both of theirs, they've got the bye.
Fresh off the bye.
Alongside the Cats. They come to the MCG with their chance to further enhance their credentials. And the Bombers have got the bye. They take on Fremantle and Port Adelaide in the weeks to come. Finally, the behind is given, so the margin is 29 points the Bombers' way.
Andy McGrath goes on a stroll and then from the back pocket drives the kick out all the way up to that southern wing. Phillips reaching for it, no mark. Off hands it slips to DeConey to the Blues. Hand pass to Walsh, handball to Cottrell. Hand pass back to the wing for Chincotta. Tucks it under his arm and then kicks long from Mackay. A shove to Zerk Thatcher, takes the mark. It is a push. Straight in the 2 digits of his number 30 on his back, and Zerk Thatcher will get it back pocket for Essendon. Last 5 weeks scores for Carlton 59, 57, 51, 44 and on 50 tonight. For a team with 2 key forwards that every team in the competition would envy. The kick out to half-back is turned over as Cottrell went to go inside 50. Merritt smothers, ricochets to Kemp, puts it to the top of the goal square. There's a heap of red and black jumpers. And the Dons will be able to rebound as Durham hand pass to Heppel. He retreats back with a kick to Ridley. Ump says not 15. He is absolutely drilled by Mackay on the behind line. And the ump says ball up after all that. Deep forward for Carlton at the city end. Essendon led it by 29 points. They kicked 7 goals to 2 in the third term to break it open. We've now travelled 15 into the last.
Tossed up in the air, Phillips and DeConey. DeConey trying to get it down to Cripps. Quiet afternoon, night for him. Nick Martin's hand pass to Caldwell. Links up with Hine, right on the defensive line. Out wide towards the sub, D'Ambrosio. He runs onto it, needs to get around Cottrell. He can't. And is pushed over the boundary line for a throw-in. This time last week, Massimo D'Ambrosio was kicking the winner against North Melbourne. He was the sub last week. The sub against it this week, and Marlon Pickett for the Tigers in what all of a sudden has become an enormous week with he in custody in Perth. The big breaking news in the last couple of hours. The Blues through Paddy Cripps, tries to find a way forward. Hand pass to Doherty, back to Chera. Feeds the hand pass away to Kemp, inside 50, better kick. And Owies coming out, marks on his chest directly in front, 45 metres out from goal.
A nice bit of ball use through the midfield. Brody Kemp starting to look a a good player. He's had a good couple of weeks.
Yeah, he has.
Did his knee before he got drafted a few years ago and just taking a little bit of extra time, but starting to look accomplished at level, which is good to see.
Maddo is with 1-1 tonight, 12 for the season, trying to add another one to the Blues column. It's offline to the left. Mackay flies in front, can't take the mark. He's first back onto it. Hand pass to Paddy Dow, nowhere to go. Hand pass turns it over. McGrath onto it for the Bombers. Hand pass to Heppel, back to the last line of defence. Redmond goes short. His chip kick found high, and he's 50. Shoved over by Charlie Curnow, and that will be 50. And the Essendon fans at the city end enjoy that, as Charlie Curnow has marched all the way back to centre half back, and Nick Hine has advanced straight down the middle of the MCG. He goes short to Zach Merritt.
Back edge of the centre square. Fourth in the coaches' votes, by the way. He's been sensational, Zach Merritt, in the last 3 weeks. Best of field on every occasion. Surely a fancy for this year's Brownlow medal as well. He goes short back and across to Ridley. First year as captain too, Zach Merritt. Extraordinarily fell out of the leadership group a couple of years ago. Short to McGrath. McGrath back to Redmond. Long switch on all the way out to D'Ambrosio, who leaps up. No mark. Cottrell knocks it away from him. Skidding through Chincotta. Forces the ball back into midfield. Socked forward by Cottrell. Picked off by McGrath. He goes long out to the broadcast wing, and there's a heap of players with a red sash on. One of them's Durham. Kicks to half forward for Stringer. 52 out. He marks left half forward for Essendon.
Drop a barrel. He likes it, I think. Big Jakey.
Just perfect timing, wasn't it, coming on for Zach Merritt, and just pop-up sprinkler.
He's done the obligatory pretend to look around inside 50. Oh, he's going to chip it into the pocket. He drew the ball and then hits up Wiedemann. A left forward pocket, 45-degree angle, 20 out.
As good a football that is, conversely,
it's ordinary. It's pretty poor defensively. That's just fallen asleep, unfortunately. Wiedemann hasn't trouble. Well, he's kicked the point today, but hasn't looked as damaging as he has earlier on in the year. So do his confidence a word of good just to knock one through.
Playing second fiddle to Peter Wright today, who's kicked 5 in the first 3 quarters. Wiedemann gets a look at them. He sprays it out to the right, behind. It's been their whole thing, Murph. Michael Voss keeps saying, I don't want to talk about offense. It's all about the defence at the moment. And there's probably not the best effort defensively there either.
No, it wasn't. But anyway, it's a miss.
Bombers by 30, 18 gone, final turn.
McGovern brings the Blues back into play. Kemp into the middle of the ground. Nick Martin tries to knock it forward to Caldwell. He was held with not in possession against Sam Walsh, and the frustrations are starting to boil for the Blues players. Caldwell kicks it straight into Matt Kennedy. He was able to smother it and still retain possession of the footy. Kicks out towards Owies on the members wing. Got a hand pass away, who's tackled by Ridley to Dow, not 15 to Chera. He's tackled by Snelling. Ball spills clear, not officiating umpire says that's holding the ball, and blows his whistle. A free kick for the Bombers on the members wing.
Usually have tackled well today, haven't they?
They've been red hot, the Bombers.
They have had 59 tackles to Carlton's 31.
31's damning.
Especially when you don't have the footy all that much. Snelling kicks towards half forward. It's chopped off by Young. Takes the mark for the Blues. Hand pass boundary side towards Kemp. Looks up towards Harry Mackay. It's over he and Zerk Thatcher's head. He tries to race back onto a Big H. Tries to soccer it to his own advantage. Inside forward 50. Silvani goes, it's all you, Harry. Mackay tries to knock it forward. Oh, he's back to Jack Silvani. Turns and dribbles it towards goal. It hits the right goal post. And Ed Curnow asks the question in the corridor. Jack Silvani throws his arms outstretched, saying that was the only option I thought I had. 29 points. The Bombers lead at the 19-minute mark of the final turn.
Brett Delidio, what's happening at the Oval?
Australia win.
Yes.
We are the best team ever.
209-run victory. Nathan Lyon gets the winning wicket. Australia, the number 1 team in Test cricket, with victory in 4 days and 1 session over India. A World Test Championship final. Bring you some of that reaction in the post-game and how it was called on ABC Sport. Bombers work it up, by the way, to the wing through the hands of Hobbs and Caldwell and Wiedemann. Back to Caldwell. His kick at turnover coming inboard. Boyd for Carlton. Hand pass away to Doherty. His hand pass not good. Guelphy knocks it away to Stringer. Gets it back. Guelphy kicks to 2-metre Peter. Who's 5-goal Peter tonight. All of them coming in the first 3 terms. He sends it down to his partner in crime in Wiedemann. No mark. Chera breaks it up. Wins it back for Carlton. Gives it to Kemp, to Wiedereen, and a hand pass all the way back to Boyd at half-back. Essendon by 29.
Looks into the middle of the ground. Risky kick for Ed Curnow. Almost brought down by Snelling, who knocks it inside 50. Boyd's dumped and a tackle by Jake Stringer, which had a bit more intent in the way in which the Bombers have played. And Boyd is slowly wrestling with Stringer as he tries to get back to his feet. 40 metres out from the Bombers' goal. Thrown in the air. DeConey wins down the tap for the Blues. Kennedy's onto it. Hand pass to Chera. He's got nothing around the members' wing apart from Jack Silvani. His kick almost intercepted by Andy McGrory, overran it. Allowed Walsh to gather. Hand pass to Silvani, who's bounding down the members' wing. He pulls his kick inboard to Motlop. No one's on the mark. McGrath offers chase. Motlop gets to 40. Kicks towards the teeth of goal. It's over Owies and Ridley, and it goes through for a minor score to the left. Could have probably kept running, Motlop, but he heard McGrath coming. And in two minds between going for goal and trying to kick to the target. Through for a minor score, Bombers by 28 points.
This game was over shortly after half-time. It was a compelling contest in the first half. Low-scoring affair, 4 goals to 3 at half-time. Essendon led by 2 at the break. 6 lead changes in the first half, and then Essendon kicked 4 goals in the first 9 minutes of the third quarter. They kicked the first 6 goals of the term and 8 in a row in the game. 7 goals to 2 in that third quarter to break it open. And really, we played out time in the last as Essendon head deep inside 50. Loose hand pass from Sard, picked off by Snelling. Hand pass is also a turnover. Kemp's got it, just drops the footy.
Oh, no.
You can't do that. Caught in the rundown tackle by Jai Caldwell. And Essendon will get a free kick, centre half forward. Caldwell will take it.
Well, it's been indicative of the way they've attacked this game, hasn't it? They've just continually gone at the man and taken away the time and space of the Carlton players. They just haven't had a sniff all day. Whenever they've thought they've been open and been able to start that chain of play, Essendon just haven't given up on the chase, and they've held on to their tackles.
They have, and this bloke's been really good, I think, today, along with Archie Perkins. They've sort of had the job on Patrick Cripps and at various times throughout today, and they've certainly had the better of that duel.
Jai Caldwell moves in, strikes it clean, and the celebration continues for Essendon as the crowd thins out in what started at 83,500, and pretty much only those left in red and black remain. The Bombers by 34 points, 23 gone final term.
It's been a significant night for the Essendon Footy Club. Certainly a lot of expectation and hope from Carlton fans that it was going to be the start of their year in terms of trying to get some momentum going against the arch rival. But since half-time, they've just been way too clean. They've been better around the stoppages. They've tackled harder, and they've made the most of their opportunities, and they certainly look a lot more polished than what Carlton do with ball in hand.
It's been about their intensity and effort that I've liked. Their want to tackle and chase and fix up their imperfections at times, and then go for their kicks and reward their runners. I've loved it.
We can just see the style they're trying to play, don't you?
Yeah, 100%.
They work hard around the stoppages, and then from D50 trying to get that run and handball chain going and give their forwards first opportunity with the football.
Back in the middle of the ground, Walsh got the clearance, trying to get the hand pass to Chincotta. Picked up by Guelphy, dragged down as he got the hand pass away. It'll be a free kick as Phillips had possession. It's being tackled by Patrick Cripps, and the footy will come back to Matt Guelphy. Chips it out members' side. Mark is taken by Nick Hine. He can work it forward to Zach Merritt. Once more has played a selfless role. Attended 8 centre bounce clearances in the first half, and with the tight tag decided to move towards half forward. In the third quarter, the Bombers spurted 7 goals to 2 in what was a pulsating third term. As Merritt works it to Hine and back to Zach Merritt, getting some cheap disposals now at the 25-minute mark of the final term. Looks up towards half forward, puts in the direction of Phillips. Mitch McGovern in from the side, takes the mark, looks to kick it forward immediately. Along the turf to Blake Acres, gets the hand pass to Kemp, sends it towards half forward. Mackay the target, outmanoeuvred by Brandon Zerk-Thatcher. Takes the mark for the Bombers at left half back.
He's battled pretty manfully, Zerk-Thatcher, tonight. I think he's done a pretty good job on Harry Mackay.
No, he's a really good 1v1 player, isn't he, Zerk-Thatcher? I think he's taken every contest before him this year. I've been really impressed by the way in which he's gone about it, and he's played really well on a guy who's certainly a lot taller and bigger than him.
Zerk Thatcher kicks down the wing to Phillips. He takes the mark. So bye next week, and then Fremantle. Round 15, Saturday night over in Perth. Feels like a classic 8-point game with two teams that are probably going to be competing for a similar spot in the lower end of the 8. As Boyd sends a torp down the wing for Carlton. Hind, short kick forward, rides a bump from Walsh. And then Durham and Akers bang bodies in the air. Hind looks at the umpire and says, how's that a free kick? And I didn't get one. But Akers is going to take it half back for Carlton. And we'll all be back here next Sunday. The usual Sunday call team: Matt Clinch, Corbin Middlemass, Mark Murphy, Brett Delidio for Carlton and Gold Coast. The early start, 1 o'clock next Sunday here at the G.
My favourite.
Dow in the middle, hand pass into Chincotta. He's caught and dispossessed. The Bombers just repel with a high bomb towards Doherty of the Blues. He'll take the intercept mark, the kick from Guelphy.
Did have my doubts about you, Lids, when we left last Sunday. You did say the family was heading away, but you're here, of course you are. The kick inside 50. Charlie Curnow flies, can't quite take the mark. Andy McGrath's able to extract it. Hand pass to Guelphy. Tackled by Owies as he gets a hand pass out to Laverty. Feeds it out wide to right half back, and Redmond can just dink a kick over the top and finds Massimo D'Ambrosio. The sub into the action in the final term for Sam Draper. One of the more bizarre subs as he takes the mark at right half back. Veers out to the left. Sends it as far as he can. Phillips is outnumbered. He flies against Kemp. It's an easy one for Wiedering to gather for the Blues. Left half back. Looks to chip it inboard. Finds Kemp. He marks it left half back. Can come inboard to Sam Walsh, who looks to try and play on. Thought about coming into the corridor. Swings back to the left. Kicks out boundary side. Doherty takes the mark. The siren sounds. They couldn't be more contrasting. The young Bombers continue to soar. 34-point winners over the Blues. The Bombers are well inside the 8. And Carlton, well, they're nowhere.
See the Bombers fly up, up. The other teams, they don't fear. They'll try their best, but they can't give in as the Bombers fly up.
In front of 83,638 in this new King's Birthday Eve clash, the Bombers 13-8-86 defeat the Blues 6-16-52 to record their 8th win of the season. They jump up to 6th on the AFL ladder, while the Blues are 4 wins, 1 draw and 8 losses. And a massive win for the Bombers as they head to the bye.
To win the premiership flag. Our boys who play this rebel game are always striving for glory and fame. See the Bombers fly up, up. The other teams, they don't fear. They'll try their best, but they can't get in as the Bombers fly on.
The Bombers led by 5 points at quarter time, by 2 points at half-time. There were 6 lead changes as Carlton tried to get out by 9 points in the second quarter, and then a 7-2 third term, which allowed the Bombers to open up a 33-point advantage, and they eventually win by 34 points. 13-8-86 to the Blues, 6-16-52. Peter Wright in his first game of season 2023. He returns with 5 goals, individual goals to Langford, Caldwell, Merritt, Snelling, Phillips, Guelphy, and 2 to Jai Menzies. Meanwhile, for the Blues, 2 goals to Charlie Curnow, individuals to Mackay, Martin, Chincotta, Owies and Cottrell. The Bombers winners by 34 points. They had their 150th celebration. The Bombers spoiled by the Blues last year. And with the Baby Bombers, the 1993 Essendon Premiership side in the house, they'll enjoy the celebrations tonight with a big win against their arch rivals. The thoughts of Brett Delidio and Mark Murphy with you on ABC Sport.
Well, it was a tough watch if you're a Carlton fan after half-time. It was just, that third quarter was electric from the Bombers. They just were terrific around the stoppage. They were very physical. They out-tackled Carlton pretty drastically for the day, and just their ball use was far superior than what Carlton's were on the night. I know that Carlton, I think they'd kicked 3 goals 10 to half-time. You're not going to win too many games doing that. And even their scoreboard, the way in which they finished, 6 goals 16, they just can't get it right. Their accuracy's number 18 in the competition. I think sitting around 35%.
That's not to blame, though, for their loss.
It's not, but they're deflating stats, though.
They are.
So when you're having opportunities to kick goals and you're missing them and you're continually missing it, it's not just been 1 or 2 weeks. It's been for the past probably 7 or 8 weeks.
They can't score.
So they score 52 points tonight, and that's basically their par at the moment. Like, that's what they're averaging over the past probably 2 months. As we hear a few boos, I think, for Carlton as they walk off, which is never a good sign. But
we might just tune in if we can listen to that and just pump the effects for a minute. Yeah, it's that is a. I mean, there's not too many Carlton fans left in the ground. There's a lot of them that have made way, but that's not the way that you want the team to go off, particularly for a game here in Melbourne and 52 points. So their average, by the way, over the last 4 weeks was 52 points, and it's exactly what they kicked tonight. So Murph, 59, 57, 51, 44, and now 52 the points scored in the last 5 weeks. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, no, so yeah, they're spot on. So like it's not like a one-off where they just haven't kicked well and haven't had a great scoring night. So unfortunately, and that's probably why the Carlton fans are booing at the moment. I think you put that in, and I think it was probably the first game this year or one of a couple where their pressure just wasn't to the level, was it? And Essendon scored some goals on the back of, which looked like to us here, a training drill at various times. So you never like to say that about a team, but unfortunately in that third quarter especially, they were certainly well off the pace, and they got their just desserts tonight.
Oh, and the most damning stat is that they've had 20 more touches than Essendon. Granted, I think a lot of those are a bit of junk stuff as well, like overuse. Yeah, but they've been out tackled 33 to 65, and that was, we made mention of it quite a few times in there, Essendon's ability just to stay in it but surround, you know, and they don't get caught just bees to a honeypot, which I feel like the Blues do at times, especially their mids, because they are inside bulls. They haven't got those guys that can get on the outside and spread. They all want to be that bull that wins it, you know, so they're all there. And then as soon as it gets on the outside, they're off to the races, the opposition. And Essendon did that to a T tonight. I thought Nick Martin was absolutely outstanding on the wing, just cruised up and down.
Great ball user, isn't he?
Hit targets. Caldwell, you made mention of him, his ability to, be inside and ignite. I felt like him and Stringer really ignited him in the start of that third. Obviously, Peter Wright kicked 3 goals. And then you got Ridley down back, who just sort of controls the airwaves, and he just rolls off at the right time. Laverty just plays his role, can lock down, plays his role to a T, which then gives Zirk Thatcher one-on-one v Mackay, and Ridley can just drop off, take some marks, and ignites their ball use with Redmond and McGrath just zipping off half back.
I thought it was a good coaching move at the start of the second half. Brad Scott put Jackie Stringer in the middle of the ground, put Zach Merritt forward. I know he kicked a goal immediately, so we all go, that's a great coaching move, but it freed up that tag, and Ed Kerno didn't know when to go to Zach Merritt at what point, because he was still trying to get to that role that Michael Voss had given him, and Jake String was just so strong and physical around the contest, had a few clearances to start off that third quarter, and got the ball going forward, and just caused a bit of havoc for the Carlton midfielders and the Carlton defenders, because they didn't know whether or not Ed was going to play on Zach from the half forward flank as a half backer, or whether he's going to get him as a midfielder. So it just caused a lot of uncertainty amongst the Carlton football side.
Can I just jump in on what you said, Lids, on the tackle count?
Yep.
The Bombers have now won the tackle count in their last 12 games.
Yeah, right. That's a big emphasis, isn't it?
They're 12-1 this year. The only time they lost the tackle count was round 1 against Hawthorn, and they won the match by 59 points.
Yeah.
So hard to sort of judge.
You can't tackle yourself.
But that is incredible. 12 in a row they've won that. So clearly it's something they've been focused on. I remember a couple of years ago, it might have even been Ben Rutten's first year when they ended up playing finals. They were really good early in the season and fell away, and obviously it wasn't there at all last year. But it's back, and it's clearly something they do well. They're super young, as Brad Scott pointed out last week. 17 guys tonight, 100 games or less.
Yeah, it was a big knock on them last year, wasn't it? The fact that they weren't physical enough. So Brad Scott's obviously brought that up in their pre-season. They've trained that really hard, but they haven't just focused on defence. They're moving the ball a lot better than what they were last year. They're far more aggressive through the corridor. Their chain of possession play is really impressive to watch. You just know coming to watch the Bombers what you're going to see week to week, which is a really good sign for a team that's only played 13 or 14 games together.
Are they a top 8 team?
At the moment, they certainly are, yeah. I still feel I still feel they're a little bit in doubt because there's some sides outside in Fremantle and Geelong who I think are going to be pressing for that 6, 7, 8 spot. I still feel Richmond's almost a chance to play finals this year. I was really impressed by their win last night, but they're doing a lot right at the moment, Essendon, and I really enjoy watching the way in which they play.
They get West Coast North and the Giants twice.
Yeah, so that's the benefit, and having those sides, which is what we discussed today, wasn't it, Corbin, about the fixture, and if you get those sides twice, you go a fair way to playing finals.
I don't think the Giants are easy beats, but the other two, you're not banking them straight away, but I feel like the Giants will test you out.
The Giants playing good footy at the moment.
Yeah, they'll challenge you.
Their next 5 weeks are certainly going to give us a better gauge. Fremantle, Port Adelaide, Geelong and the Western Bulldogs. But they're 8 and 5 at the bye, led in by Jaden Laverty. Let's head down to Ian Cohen.
Oh, it's festive scenes in here because the 1993 Premiership team is also here celebrating 30 years. So it's been a big weekend for the Bombers. Here we go. So there you go. It is certainly celebration mode in the Essendon rooms. We're going to speak to the 100-gamer in Jaden Laverde, who, of course, came off on the blood rule late in that last quarter. But looking around the room, the likes of Dustin Fletcher and Boris Buick, Chris Danaher down as well. There is plenty of the 93 champions, and they are celebrating just as hard with the current stars who are out there and enjoying that big win.
All right, Koza, thank you very much. If you want to wander over and have a chat to one of them at some stage, we'll be back with you once the players come out of their team meeting. Essendon winners by 34 points over the Blues, 13-8-86 to Carlton 6-16-52. And I guess all of a sudden you look at what Brad Scott was trying to set up with this Bombers side: stability off-field, consistency on-field. They've even had a couple of wins. You touched on Adrian Dodoro at the recruiting table with Nick Martin, an SSP pick, and Peter Wright, all of a sudden future 4th rounder, leading goal scorer last year, comes back and kicks 5, and it looks like their forward line is going to function a lot better with him there. So the big question kind of coming into tonight for the Bombers was it real? And it looks like there's at least enough of a foundation to build on.
Yeah, well, and I had my questions last week. I feel like North Melbourne really tested them, but their ability to come over the top and get that win has paved the way for them to have a lot of confidence going forward, you know. So there's still plenty of room to work on, but they're doing some really good stuff.
Let's head back down to Ian Cohen.
We are with the Centurion, Jaden Laverde. Jaden, congratulations. You got a nice big fat lip, though, that you earned in, towards the tail end of the third term?
Yeah. Nice fat lip to go with the win.
So talk us through the win, because obviously it was an arm wrestle to begin with. Then in that third term, you really did open them up. Peter Wright, obviously, up front as well.
Yeah, it was great to have Pete back. Obviously, super talent and showed on the scoreboard tonight. But we knew they were going to come out and grind. So they got their backs against the wall the last couple of weeks. So we knew first half was always going to be a challenge for us, and we brunted it and were able to wear them down.
100 games in for you, but the crowd tonight, the marquee matchup, playing against the old enemy, what was it like?
Yeah, it's like a fairy tale. I mean, going against arch rivals in Carlton, I was an Essendon supporter growing up, so we always want to win these ones, and it was great to have all the fans out there and great to get them the win.
Well, when you have a look around the 93 Premiership team, there were a few posters you probably had on the wall, were they?
Oh, for sure. Purdy and Lloydie, my favourite players growing up, so looked up to them.
Upstairs, we've got Brett Deledio and Mark Murphy.
Jaden, Mark Murphy here, mate. Congratulations on the 100 games. Great effort. I'm just really impressed by your defensive 6 at the moment. Brendan Zerk-Thatcher's one that's really impressed me this year, and Mason Redmond obviously doing the things that he does, but Jordan Ridley as well. You're really starting to build a really mature back 6 in there, mixed in with a few younger guys.
Yeah, I think we're starting to gel really well, and we're obviously a bit of an undersized defence, but I think we're helping each other out well and trusting each other well out there. So it makes a huge difference when that's going well.
And what was the build-up? I know being involved in the Essendon Carlton games are always huge build-ups. We'd love to hate Essendon. Essendon love to hate Carlton. Was there something extra with the 93 reunion, obviously being the 30 years? Did you have some of the older guys come and talk to the group?
Yeah, it was great to have them around. Obviously, they're celebrating their stuff, but we're making the new chapter at the moment. And we know these games are always big games and anything can happen. It's always a close game no matter where we are sitting on the ladder. So obviously a great contest in the first half, and we fought real well in the second to take over.
Jayden, Brett Lidio here. I just want to touch on that a little bit. What was the messaging at half-time? You had a slim lead and, Carlton were getting a lot of shots, but wide and outside 50, a lot of those. But what was the messaging from Brad and your leaders there at half-time?
Yeah, it was more to just embrace the grind. I mean, we weren't playing the greatest football that we've played all year, but we knew if we could get our game back on top and we were going to break them down. So we just had to keep going and keep in the contest, and that's where the game was won and lost. And I think Big Jackie Stringer was a turning point for us in that third quarter.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to know, is a key point for you guys pressure and tackling pressure on the opposition to try and win that? Is that what you base a lot of your game around?
Yeah, they're just non-negotiables. I mean, the game's won and lost in the coalface, so contest is one of our most important parts of our game.
Jayden Laverty's with us on ABC Sport. Was there any special sort of video montage or anything, given it was your 100th game, Jayden?
Yeah, there was in the pre-game. It was nice to see.
So what does it mean? I mean, 9 years in the system, you touched on some of the trials and tribulations, the syndesmosis back in 2020 to achieve this milestone. Is it something you're really proud of?
Yeah, super proud of. Obviously, been through some highs and lows. 9 years, long time at the club, but to finally get here, I'm super proud and honoured to be part of such a special club for this long. So, can tick that off the box.
What do you think you're capable of this year, Jayden, as a group?
We're keeping a lid on it. We're just trying to get better each week, and we're obviously a young group and got a lot to learn. So hopefully we can just keep improving and keep taking in our stride.
The bye, obviously, this week. How are you spending it?
Just cruising this week, actually. I might head down to the coast, down Anglesey, which would be nice.
Oh, good area, mate. You want to know any spots, let me know.
That's Brett Lidio. He spends most of his time down there. Also, Jayden, I know you're obviously a footy head, but you're also a big fight fan, I understand. I had a few little boxing questions to Jordan De Goey the other day. I understand you keep across, particularly what's happening in the local fight scene?
I've been a couple of times, just seen a few boys fight there. Just to support a couple of mates and like to do a bit of boxing in the off time. Yeah, right. Very good. Did you watch Tom Belchambers the other day? Yeah, I did actually. Yeah, it was great to see T-Bell in the ring and get the win. Great fight, and he was stoked. Didn't spur anything in you where you thought, I wouldn't mind doing that one day? Probably not, mate. I can't see myself in the ring. Good on you, Jayden. Well done on game 100. Nice to see the Dons flying. Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Jayden Laverty joining us from the Bombers rooms following their 34-point victory over Carlton. He was chuffed, sort of.
Yeah. Oh, mate, he's ground away, I suppose, in the 9 years to get to his 100 games. I think the way he's reinvented himself, I reckon he started as a high half forward and marked and kicked a few goals, but then to go down and be a key back, undersized key back, over the last couple of years has been, you've got to tip your cap to a guy who's been willing to embrace that, but then play it pretty well as well.
Had the AC injury against Collingwood on Anzac Day, and we sort of saw how important he was in the next sort of 4 matches in which he missed. They're building a good partnership with he and Jordan Ridley and Brandon Zerk-Thatcher, who's undersized and out of contract at season's end. But if they can get the matchups right, and would have been intimidating with Harry Mackay and Charlie Kerner both down there to know that if Carlton had got on top in the midfield, it could be a tough night for their back six.
Well, and that's where I thought that Carlton would be trying to cash in, with their ability to actually get the ball in the midfield and get into those big boys, knowing that they've got undersized backs. But credit to Essendon, they just didn't allow it, and they got all their shots basically from outside 50.
The celebrations are continuing in the Bombers' rooms. Let's head back down to Ian Cohen.
Absolutely, they are. The 1993 Premiership team, or most of them, are in here, no doubt about that. Darren Buick, one of the greats from the Essendon Football Club. Great for the Essendon Football Club, wandering the halls with some of your teammates.
Yeah, no, we've had a really big weekend, and this really topped it off. About 10 of us had a function up in one of the rooms, and we're really happy to see the boys come out with a win. Koza?
Well, it certainly does top it off, doesn't it? But when you have a look around, how often do you catch up with a Dustin Fletcher or a Chris Danaher, any of those boys?
Not often enough. But we've made a pact this year that we're going to catch up at least once a year. we have been trying to do that, but a few boys are away and that sort of thing. But we've had a really big weekend. We had a Friday night, and then last night we had some stuff with the staff, and then we thought we'd do the trifecta and finish off tonight. So it's been good.
Sounds like you'll need to lie down next week, I would suggest.
Getting that age where I need one, yeah.
What does it mean to you when you see the Premiership Cups, and we saw them out in the middle? There was 16 from Carlton, from Essendon as well, all out in the middle there. What do you see when you brush past that Premiership Cup that you had a part of?
Oh, look, it's special. I mean, not many people get to do it, and we're really fortunate that we've been one of those ones that have. And to play in a couple of them and catch up and reminisce, and it's been 30 years since the 93 one, obviously, but it doesn't seem, it seems a long time ago, but it doesn't seem that long ago. And when you catch up with the boys, it's been really good. Stories are getting bigger, a bit more elaborate, but it's funny, you see the blokes now in the same situation that we'd been in 30 years ago, they're in now, and when you look around, they're still doing the same thing. So, it's been a really good weekend, and really happy to be involved with it.
Mark Murphy, Brett Deledio are upstairs, along with Matt Clinch and Corbin Middlemass.
Darren, Brett Deledio here, mate. I'm
Hey,
just
Brett.
watching the young boys out there today. Do you have a favourite player that you really enjoy just watching him go to work out there?
Look, I've been really impressed with Nick Martin.
Oh.
He's come in and done a really good job. He plays the game in the right way. He's got a bit of flair about him, and he takes the game on. So, in these days the game can be stop-start a little bit, but Nick seems to understand what his strengths are and plays them. So he's one of them. I'm being really impressed with Redmond as well, Mason Redmond. So those players who take the game on and have a bit of flair, I tend to like them a little bit.
Darren, it's Corbin Middlemass. You played in both 93 and 2000. Which group of lads would you rather catch up with, the 93 boys or the 2000 lads?
Oh, geez, good question. After this weekend, probably 93 again. So, no, look, it was, a lot of them, we were talking about it. We've had a couple of functions, and the average age was 20 or something, and some boys hadn't played 21 games. So they were young and had a good time, and the older blokes sort of fed off them a little bit. So 93 is probably a good year.
Yeah.
2000 was a little bit more sedate and that type of thing, but so probably 93.
Adam Ramanauskas works with us too, so I completely understand, by the way, that...
I like catching up with Rama too. He can have a good time, that boy.
And Darren, it's Matt Clinch. You kicked 50-odd goals in that 93 season. What was the key to, I guess, you having such a standout year personally, and what was such a memorable year?
Oh, look, no one expected us to win anything that year, and, we sort of had momentum build up during the year, and, probably halfway through the year we beat West Coast Eagles here, and Sheedy waved his jacket, and we got a little bit of momentum from that. It just sort of kept on snowballing a little bit, and, once we sort of got past three-quarters of the year and we were starting to win, and with the young blokes we had, they had no fear, so... we sort of fed off that a little bit, and in the end the result was a good one.
And inducted into the Essendon Hall of Fame on Friday night. So has the celebrations continued from Friday night into Sunday?
Yeah, no, really chuffed. It was really overwhelming for me. It's not something you set out to do when you play. I just wanted to come over from Perth and play for a club that I barracked for back in Perth, and to end up playing a couple of premierships and a life member, that was enough. But Friday night was a bit over the top, and but I really appreciate the things that the club have done for me, and I was really honoured to be now inducted in the Hall of Fame.
Good on you, Darren. Thanks for having a chat to us.
Boys.
Hopefully these young Bombers can continue to give you something to watch for the rest of the year.
Great to see Koza down here. He's a good man.
Absolutely.
He's a good man.
Darren Buick joining us from the Essendon Rooms. 1993 Premiership player, 2000 Premiership player, featured in 3 grand finals, and was inducted on Thursday night into the Bombers Hall of Fame. They're pretty good nights, I guess, when you get the chance to get all the band back together, and they came along tonight, and unfortunately Murph against an arch rival, the Blues, it would have been pretty relaxing, I'm imagining, watching in that last quarter.
Absolutely kicking back. Those boys would have been enjoying all the goals going through, that's for sure. But that's what a lot of, old teammates of mine talk about. It's the catch-ups, and even talking to Heath Shaw and Daisy when we run into them, the ability to catch up after you've won a flag is what it's all about. You've got the medallion and whatever else, but something that Murph and I are the have-nots in that category. So disappointing for us.
And it's funny to hear him talk about the stories, and over 30 years, the stories have certainly exaggerated, haven't they? I reckon it'll almost be a bit more than GST on a lot of those stories from all those years gone by. But yeah, you're right, Lid. It's a great excuse to try and catch up with former teammates, those guys who win premierships, and for guys like us who unfortunately didn't win them. Certainly very envious of those guys who get that opportunity to catch up and celebrate something that was achieved here at the MCG.
How do they do past players stuff in the clubs that you're involved with? Is that I mean, Murph, you've a couple of years out of the game, and is it well done in general? Even as regardless of the premiership, as just as a former player.
Look, it hasn't been something I'm only fresh out, and the Giants do it pretty well. They try and get boys back together. They try and do one here in Melbourne when they play here, and one up in Sydney. Yep. They only just did it just recently. The Tigers is a little bit, you're always invited to the life member lunches that are on at the club, and just recently they had everyone with daughters or sons, a Richo clinic that he ran, and all the kids got a jumper. Good. Brought them in on the school holidays, which is a good way to reconnect with all of your old teammates, because we've all got kids around the same age now, which is great. But yeah, it's something that I think I'll look more forward to as you get older, because you can, you don't see everyone, all those players that you played with. There's a bit of a revolving door there at Richmond there for a little while. We had a lot of people come through.
Might need a few little name tags.
Well, no, I think I'm pretty good with names, but no, there was certainly a lot of players.
It is one of those staggering things that footy clubs and even the Australian cricket side, they don't tend to run too many past players sort of functions. I know Rod Jamieson in Adelaide set up the Adelaide Crows past players and tried to create the initiative that they take along a lot of their families to one sort of open training session where they get to meet the players. And even with the ACA and a lot of the Test cricket players, they don't often come to the cricket because it is a team sport with an individual element to it. So a lot of either still working in cricket or those that have gone off and explored other careers once their professional sporting career has come to an end. So
yeah, it's an interesting one, because I went to our Life Members one earlier on this year, which was really good, but unless you're a Life Member, there's almost no chance to get together and do that unless you win a flag, which is a little bit disappointing. And usually with players who finish up at a football club, very rarely is it on good terms. Normally you either get sacked or you get traded, or that's the end of you. Very rarely do you go out and you retire as a past player. So it's important that clubs try and bring back players as much as possible. It's obviously pretty hard to do in this day and age, but if you can try and do it once a year, I think clubs are certainly getting better at doing it, because it's important to try and keep up to date with who's doing what. And you talk about Richo having that clinic, which sounds like a great idea, and guys bringing down their kids and being involved in the football club.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Well, Richo again was a driver of everyone catching up post Spud passing away.
Yep.
And they had a huge turnout the first year. I obviously didn't play under Spud, but knew the man. He's a great fella. And I knew all the boys that played under Spud and all the stories that went with it. So go the next year, numbers dwindle, and then it doesn't happen again. So you got to have blokes that just really make that effort to keep trying to catch up.
I reckon we had 25 at a lunch last year. It was the first time we'd caught up. We caught up early in September. It was the last time we won a final against Richmond. So we celebrated the last finals win. That's where we were at.
Any excuse. Any excuse.
Essendon winners by 34 points here at the MCG. 13-8-86 to the Blues, 6-16-52. At the very top of the broadcast, the Carlton CEO Brian Cook sat down with Corbin Middlemass. He said it's part of the unique nature of our footy club that it does get hot in the kitchen, and part of our uniqueness is the passion of our supporters. I'm sure that passion might be on display in the next sort of 24, 48 hours as a search for questions start to take place. What's it like, Murph, when you're sort of a player and you know the intensity of the footy world is on your club, and really you're looking for some answers to try and appease the masses?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I was thinking when I got into this role, I was looking forward to not having to answer on behalf of Carlton. So it's good to keep on doing it, but it becomes it becomes draining, to be honest with you, when you are a senior player at a football club which is battling, and they're certainly in that period at the moment where they're really battling, and it wasn't expected, because they were expected to do really good things this year, and it hasn't panned out. So what it does do to players is they have to get it through their head that they don't need to do everything, because there's no doubt Patrick Cripps and other leaders of that football club are doing more meetings and putting more time into guys to making sure that everyone's feeling good about themselves and training hard and trying to do all the right things. And when you're not getting the result on a weekend like you saw tonight, they just keep on doing the same thing over and over again. You've got to try and work on avenues to try and change things up a little bit, find the small wins where you can, but then also be really hard and aggressive at certain things that you don't like as well. So it's a tough battle at the moment when you are playing for Carlton and you're a leader of Carlton and you're not winning. It's a really tough spot to be in.
I've been in a similar situation at Richmond. You should be playing a hell of a lot better, and then everyone's searching for answers. We went down to Rye. We trained on Rye's home deck there, and it was lumpy as. And then we sat around in a circle and gave a few home truths to a couple of people, which was the old school way. I remember rolling in when Cuz finally got to the club and we had the circles. Oh, no, nothing good comes of a circle. I've seen this before. And sure enough, around we went and we said, this is what you can get better at. And it's just like, that's when it starts to spiral and you really dread having to go in and there's no even escape to go out and play on the Saturday and just be able to let it all out, because it's like, oh God, don't make a mistake, because I don't want to see this on the review on Monday.
It's a brutal game at the end of the day, and Carlton players are finding out how brutal it is at the moment. Unfortunately, quite a few of them have been there for a while, and you talk about Patrick Cripps, who hasn't played in a final yet, and he would have been thinking this year is the year that he gets a chance to announce himself on the comp, even though he announced himself from winning a Brownlow medal, but the opportunity to play on the big stage, unfortunately, it looks like they're not going to do that this year again.
Jeez, it's amazing to think that where they were last year, and even people saying, progression's not linear and all the rest of it. It's not as if they achieved anything last year. They didn't get there. Ultimately, they spent every week in the top 8 and then...
But sometimes that can be part of the challenge. When you think you're that close to getting to finals, you think it's naturally going to be a progression. When now the question was last year a bit of an aberration that they had a good year, they were able to have some real spikes in individual performance, and watching this team, the methodology and the system, you would say, doesn't stack up with the way the best sides play at the moment. Yeah, and that's the challenge. I think, with the good performance last year, not great performance, good performance, comes better expectation. And then I feel like they've struggled to deal with that a little bit, but then they've tried to tinker with their game to, solidify them a little bit more. Yeah, we're an offensive juggernaut. We've got some great players in there, but they've lost all of that offense to try and shore themselves up. They just can't score.
When you go and handpick a list, though, and handpick free agents and go and get every piece that you want and the salary cap's bursting at the seams, it's pretty hard to then turn around